Chapter 476. Her child has grown up. Hearing these words, Bai Ryue felt a warm current flowing through her heart. She no longer spoke and took the initiative to lie on Xiao Chen's back. When he was young, it was his parents who protected him. Now that he had grown up, although he was still far from meeting the requirements of an expert, in Xiao Chen's heart, no matter when, as a son, it was natural for him to protect his parents. It was just like how his parents protected him when he was young. Carrying Bai Ryue on his back, Xiao Chen's destination was very clear. It was the Tiger Leopard Ridge. As long as he entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge, Xiao Chen would have hope of returning to the Moonless Empire. Of course, Xiao Chen did not know that even if he successfully left the Mang Mountain and entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge, it did not mean that he would be safe. At this moment, the Blood Wolf King had already arrived at the Tiger Leopard Ridge and had successfully met the masters of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor. The Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor were the masters of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. In fact, although there were countless demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard Ridge, in terms of strength, the Tiger Leopard Ridge was still inferior to the three great empires. Any of the empires in Danyang County had the strength to eliminate the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Since they had the strength, why did none of the empires dare to take action against the Tiger Leopard Ridge? The reason was very simple. It was because of the situation in Danyang County. Putting aside the two great sects, the situation in Danyang County was like a tripartite balance of power. The three empires were evenly matched, and no one could do anything to the other. Because of this, no one was willing to provoke the Tiger Leopard Ridge. In the eyes of the three empires, the Tiger Leopard Ridge was like a hornet's nest. Although the three empires had the strength to eliminate the Tiger Leopard Ridge, they would have to pay a heavy price to succeed. In this way, wouldn't it give the other two empires an opportunity? Because of this, whether it was the Moonless Empire or the Heavenly Wolf Empire, their attitude towards the Tiger Leopard Ridge was surprisingly consistent. They would try to win it over and pacify it. As one of the four great princes of the Sky Wolf Empire, the Blood Wolf King was naturally familiar with the masters of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, the Tiger Emperor, and the Leopard Emperor. At this moment, in a valley of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, this place looked like a human village from afar. However, the people living in this village were all demonic beasts that had taken human form. Under the lead of a beast king, the Blood Wolf King came to the center of the demonic beast village. There was a bluestone palace here. The palace wasn't big, but it was very luxurious. Although it was called a bluestone palace, the surface of the palace was covered with a layer of golden paint, making the entire palace look like a golden cup. Walking all the way into the palace, the Tiger Emperor and Panther Emperor were already waiting for the Blood Wolf King's visit. They were sitting on the high platform in front of the palace. The Tiger Emperor sat on the left. He was wearing a leather vest, his body was fat, and his face was fierce. At first glance, he looked like a human butcher, very ruthless. Beside the Tiger Emperor, on the right side of the high platform, sat a thin, middle-aged man with sharp eyes. This person was the Panther Emperor. The two beast kings of the Tiger Leopard Ridge had appeared. Looking at the Blood Wolf King who was walking towards them, the Tiger Emperor took the lead and laughed loudly. "Ha ha, Blood Wolf King, you're a rare guest. What's the matter? What good things did you bring today?" The Tiger Emperor didn't have the slightest surprise towards the Blood Wolf King. This was normal, not to mention other things. Just the cultivation of the Tiger Emperor was equivalent to a Dao Emperor realm expert. On the other hand, the Blood Wolf King was only a Dao sovereign expert. Naturally, the Tiger Emperor wouldn't be polite to him. It was only because the Blood Wolf King had sent many good things to the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge that the Tiger Emperor recognized him. Of course, it wasn't just the Sky Wolf Empire. The Moonless Empire also frequently sent good things to the Tiger Leopard Ridge. It couldn't be helped. The strength of the Tiger Leopard Ridge couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, the three great empires were eyeing the Tiger Leopard Ridge covetously. No one wanted to provoke the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, the Blood Wolf King didn't have the slightest dissatisfaction. Instead, he respectfully bowed to the Tiger Emperor and said, "Greetings, Tiger Emperor and Panther Emperor. Cut the crap. Leave the things behind and scram." Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, the Panther Emperor coldly said. Compared to the Tiger Emperor's ruthlessness, the Panther Emperor gave off a much more sinister feeling. Hearing the Panther Emperor's words, the Blood Wolf King also knew that he shouldn't beat around the bush with the two Beast Kings. Therefore, he directly said, "There are good things, but this time, this little king has come to ask the Beast Kings for a favor." Hearing this, the Tiger Emperor's face sank slightly. "Blood Wolf King, is there something wrong with your head? A human actually wants their help?" The Tiger Emperor snappily said. Hearing this, the Blood Wolf King's expression didn't change. "Please listen to this little king first. It won't be too late for the two Beast Kings to make a decision. Actually, the matter is very simple. A few days ago, this king's princess was kidnapped. Now, the thieves have entered Mount Mang. Although this little king has already sent people to chase after them, these thieves are very cunning. They might enter Tiger Leopard Ridge. At that time, this little king hopes that the two Beast Kings can lend a hand and take down these thieves. After this matter is done, this little king can make the decision and send the two Beast Kings 1,000,000 living humans as thanks. Asking the two Beast Kings for help, and the Blood Wolf King's bargaining chip is 1,000,000 living humans. Unlike the heavenly Chan continent, the demonic beasts on the Sky River continent eat humans. As everyone knows, there are benefits for humans to hunt demonic beasts. At the same time, there are also benefits for demonic beasts to eat humans. Therefore, under normal circumstances, whether it's the Heavenly Wolf Empire or the Moonless Empire, every once in a while, they would send some living humans to the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. This is also to prevent the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge from causing trouble in the human world. However, although the two empires would often send living humans, sending 1,000,000 living humans at once is something that has never happened before. Sure enough, hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, the Tiger Emperor and Leopard Emperor's faces slightly changed. They looked at each other. Then the Tiger Emperor suddenly laughed out loud. "Ha ha, Blood Wolf King. Oh, Blood Wolf King, sending 1,000,000 living humans at once. You're really willing to do it. It seems that your princess has won your heart. I asked the Beast King to lend a hand." Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, the Blood Wolf King didn't answer and bowed again. "Ha ha. Good, this king agrees to this matter. However, the 1,000,000 living humans must be sent first. Rest assured, Beast King, within a month, the 1,000,000 living humans will be sent." The Blood Wolf King replied. For by Ruyue, the Blood Wolf King could pay any price. Because in the Blood Wolf King's heart, Bai Ruyue is the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. It's impossible for the Blood Wolf King to let such a beauty escape from his hands. Moreover, after this matter, the Blood Wolf King also understood that as long as he can snatch Bai Ruyue back, he can forcefully possess her. Previously, he wanted to obtain Bai Ruyue's heart, but now it seems that it's impossible. Since that's the case, even if he can't obtain her heart, he must obtain her body. Chapter 477. In order to snatch Bai Ruyue back, the Blood Wolf King did not hesitate to use the lives of millions of people in the Heavenly Wolf Empire as a condition. It had to be said that the Blood Wolf King was indeed deranged in this matter. They did not reject the Blood Wolf King. After all, in the eyes of the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor, capturing Bai Ruyue was only a small matter. Moreover, they could summon millions of people. This was definitely a good deal. After persuading the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor to help, the Blood Wolf King did not leave. He did not know why, but his intuition told him that even with the Heavenly Wolf Guards, there was still no way to capture Bai Ruyue. Therefore, the Blood Wolf King decided to personally guard the Tiger Leopard Ridge and wait for Shao Chun to deliver himself to his doorstep. Bai Ruyue, you're mine. You will not be able to escape from my palm for the rest of your life." After leaving the palace, the Blood Wolf King immediately settled down in the Tiger Leopard Ridge. His gaze looked in the direction of the Mang Mountain as he coldly snorted. Shao Chun did not know that the Blood Wolf King had already arrived at Tiger Leopard Ridge. In Mount Mang, Even though he had shaken off the sky wolf guards chasing after him, Xiao Chun did not dare to be careless in the slightest and still hurried on. 10 days passed in a row. In these 10 days, Xiao Chen's movements were very secretive. At the same time, the injuries on his body could be said to have almost completely healed. "Mother, we should be able to leave Mount Mang in another day and enter the Tiger Leopard Ridge. At that time, we can be considered to have left the Heavenly Wolf Empire," Xiao Chun said to Bai Ryue with a smile as they stopped by a small stream to rest. In total, they had been fleeing for half a month in the Mang Mountain. This nonstop fleeing made Xiao Chun and Bai Ryue extremely tired. Now that they were finally able to leave the Mang Mountain and the Heavenly Wolf Empire, Xiao Chun and Bai Ryue were naturally happy in their hearts. However, Xiao Chun was also worried about Zhang Qi and the others. When they were fleeing that night, Zhang Qi and the other three held back more than half of the Heavenly Wolf Guards. There was no news of them for half a month. Xiao Chun could not help but be worried. There were also other warriors from the Heavenly Qin continent. Could they escape the pursuit of the Heavenly Wolf Guards? Worried about everyone's safety, Xiao Chun had no other choice. Heavenly Wolf Guards, Xiao Chun, and the Heavenly Wolf Guards. Heavenly Wolf Guards, to prevent them. Heavenly Wolf Guards. After resting for about an hour, Xiao Chun carried Bai Ryue on his back and continued on his journey. There was still a day's journey to the Tiger Leopard Ridge. As long as they successfully entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge, Xiao Chun would be able to relax. Although the Tiger Leopard Ridge was filled with demonic beasts, Xiao Chun would rather encounter demonic beasts than Heavenly Wolf Guards. They ran all the way. What Xiao Chun did not know was that there were already countless demonic beasts waiting for him in the Tiger Leopard Ridge. They had all received orders from the Tiger Emperor to capture Bai Ryue. While Xiao Chun and his mother were running towards the Tiger Leopard Ridge, Zhang Qi and several other warriors from the Heavenly Qin continent were hiding in a secret place in the Mang Mountain. Including Zhang Qi, there were a total of 8 warriors from the Heavenly Qin continent. Zhang Qi had encountered these people during her escape. At this moment, everyone stopped to rest. Zhang Qi's face was filled with worry. As for what she was worried about, it was obviously because of Xiao Chun. In Zhang Qi's heart, Xiao Chun was too important. To put it bluntly, any warrior from the Heavenly Qin continent could have an accident, but Xiao Chun could not. That was Zhang Qi's thought. Unfortunately, along the way, Zhang Qi had been deliberately looking for Xiao Chun's traces. But so far, she had not found anything. Facing the worried Zhang Qi, the other warriors from the Heavenly Qin continent comforted her. "Senior Zhang Qi, don't worry. Xiao Chun is our Heavenly Qin continent's top 10 prides. No matter if it is his temperament or battle strength, he is impeccable. I believe that he will be able to escape this calamity." That's right. Xiao Chun will definitely be able to escape successfully. Everyone comforted her one after another. Zhang Qi did not say anything when he heard that. He only nodded slightly. He knew that even though he was a Dao master, it would be difficult to find Xiao Chen's whereabouts in this vast mountain range. As such, he could only hope that Xiao Chun would be able to turn the misfortune into a blessing. It was difficult to find Xiao Chen's whereabouts in a short period of time. Zhang Qi could only lead the people around him to the border of the Moonless Empire as soon as possible. Only then would they be truly safe. After thinking it through with Zhang Qi, Gu Xiu and the other 2 Dao kings gathered several warriors from the Heavenly Qin continent around them. They were also rushing towards the Tiger Leopard Ridge and the border of the Moonless Empire. At the same time, Gu Xiu was also constantly searching for Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Unfortunately, like Zhang Qi, Gu Xiu also found nothing. Xiao Chun did not know that everyone was looking for him. At this moment, he was infinitely close to the Tiger Leopard Ridge. At most, he would be able to enter the Tiger Leopard Ridge in 4 to 6 hours. Tiger Leopard Ridge was right in front of him. Facing this place full of demonic beasts, Xiao Chun wished that he could reach it as soon as possible. This was because compared to Mount Mang, Tiger Leopard Ridge was undoubtedly safer to Xiao Chun. However, what Xiao Chun did not know was that all of this was just his wishful thinking. To put it bluntly, Rushing from Mount Mang to Tiger Leopard Ridge was like entering the tiger's den from the wolf's den. Because of the Blood Wolf King, the demonic beasts in Tiger Leopard Ridge were all paying attention to Bai Ryue's whereabouts. He did not know that the Blood Wolf King had already arranged everything in Tiger Leopard Ridge and was only waiting for him to rush in. Without stopping along the way, after more than 4 hours, Xiao Chun finally entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge. From Mount Mang to Tiger Leopard Ridge, there was a bottomless abyss in the middle. This abyss was the border between Mount Mang and Tiger Leopard Ridge. At the same time, it was also the end of the Heavenly Wolf Empire. After passing through this abyss, Xiao Chun could be considered to have successfully left the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Carrying Bai Ryue on his back, he directly flew through the abyss. After successfully flying through the abyss, Xiao Chun could not help but let out a sigh of relief. He unconsciously said, "We finally escaped." After going through a lot of hardships, Xiao Chun finally managed to escape from the sphere of influence of the Heavenly Wolf Empire. However, just as Xiao Chun was secretly heaving a sigh of relief, a voice that was not very standard and even sounded a little awkward came from the secret order not far away. "Haha, as expected, I found you. Damned human, surrender obediently." Following the voice, a 10-meter-tall battle ape strode out from the secret order. Not only that, 7 to 8 demonic beasts appeared one after another in front of Xiao Chun. Chapter 478. A total of 8 demonic beasts appeared in front of Xiao Chun. The leader was naturally the battle ape demonic beast that had just spoken. It was a level 8 demonic beast, which was equivalent to a human warrior in the Tao transformation realm. Although it had yet to transform, this battle ape was already able to speak human language. Moreover, its intelligence was not low, almost no different from a human. Looking at the 8 demonic beasts that suddenly appeared, Xiao Chun frowned slightly. He suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. From the actions of these 8 demonic beasts, they seemed to be waiting for him here. Ignoring Xiao Chun's expression, this battle ape looked at Bai Ryue, who was on Xiao Chun's back with a playful expression, and revealed an ugly smile. "Huh, the Blood Wolf King really has good luck with women. This human girl is indeed beautiful. No wonder the Blood Wolf King would do anything for her." The battle ape had no intention of hiding anything from Xiao Chun. After hearing the battle ape's words, Xiao Chun instantly understood that the Blood Wolf King had come to the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Moreover, it should have reached some kind of agreement with the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge and paid some price to get the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge to help capture him. He never thought that the Blood Wolf King would have such a trick up his sleeve. As a result, the Tiger Leopard Ridge was no different from the Mang Mountain to Xiao Chun. He originally thought that he could relax after escaping from the Mang Mountain, who knew that the Blood Wolf King was already prepared. Staring at the 8 demonic beasts in front of him, Xiao Chun quickly thought of a countermeasure. Even though he already knew that the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge wanted to capture him because of the Blood Wolf King, Xiao Chun had no way out. He could only force his way through the Tiger Leopard Ridge. He couldn't possibly retreat to the Mang Mountain. That way, he would die even faster. There was a tiger in front and a wolf behind. This was Xiao Chun's current situation. If he retreated to the Mang Mountain, Xiao Chun would have to face the pursuit of the Sky Wolf Guards. In the Tiger Leopard Ridge, there were countless demonic beasts that wanted to capture him. It could be said that it had been forced into a desperate situation. Facing the solemn face of Xiao Chun, the battle ape did not take him seriously and laughed. Capture them. Xiao Chun's cultivation level was only at the Dao querying realm. Xiao Chun was only equivalent to a level 5 demonic beast. As for Bai Ryue, her celestial realm cultivation level was directly ignored by the battle ape. Therefore, the battle ape did not care about Xiao Chun and his mother at all. Following the order of the battle ape, the 7 demonic beasts beside it instantly took action. They weren't as powerful as the battle ape, and they were all class 7 demonic beasts, which was equivalent to a human Dao Gate realm martial artist. Even so, it was still difficult for Xiao Chun to resist the siege of 7 class 7 beasts. Accompanied by a series of beastly roars, the 7 demonic beasts immediately pounced on Xiao Chun. Seeing this, Xiao Chun did not have any good ideas at the moment. However, it was absolutely impossible for him to surrender without putting up a fight. Even if he died, Xiao Chun would not let his mother fall into the hands of the Blood Wolf King. Mother, hold on tight. Facing such a desperate situation, Xiao Chun said softly to Bairuyue, who was on his back, and immediately used the secret technique, dragon transformation. There was no other way but to fight. If he could break out of the siege, he would still have a chance of survival. However, the possibility was too small. Facing the siege of a Class 8 demonic beast and 7 Class 7 demonic beasts, it was almost impossible to break out of the siege. However, what Xiao Chun did not expect was that after he used the dragon transformation, the expressions of the 7 demonic beasts that were pouncing on him changed drastically. The bloodline power in their bodies seemed to be suppressed, and a sense of fear unconsciously emerged from the depths of their hearts. What's going on? How can a human possess the bloodline power? The sudden change made the 7 Class 7 demonic beasts roar in shock. After using the dragon transformation, the 7 Class 7 demonic beasts actually felt the bloodline power in Xiao Chen's body. Moreover, this bloodline power actually had a terrifying suppressive effect on them. Bloodline suppression? Hearing the roars of the 7 demonic beasts, Xiao Chun was slightly stunned. Bloodline suppression? However, Xiao Chun quickly thought of a possibility, and that was his secret technique, dragon transformation. Back then, when he practiced the dragon transformation, he used the blood essence of his second sister, Long Qing. Long Qing was from the True Dragon clan, and her bloodline was definitely at the top among the demonic beasts. In the entire demonic beast clan, the number of demonic beasts with bloodlines comparable to Long Qing's could be counted on one's hand. In the world of demonic beasts, bloodline represented almost everything. Therefore, demonic beasts with high-grade bloodline power could often suppress low-grade demonic beasts. This had nothing to do with strength or other reasons. It could be said that it was an innate suppression, to be able to suppress the 8 demonic beasts in front of him. Even the Class 8 battle ape, the leader of the group, felt a suppressive force that was difficult to resist. Xiao Chun completely did not expect that the blood essence he refined from Long Qing would have such power. However, he was naturally overjoyed because under the bloodline suppression, the strength of these demonic beasts was almost reduced to less than 10%. In this way, Xiao Chun now had hope of breaking through. Without hesitation, the storage ring in his hand flashed, and the ink dragon sword appeared in his hand. Facing Class 8 and Class 7 demonic beasts, Xiao Chun could not hold back at all, so he did not hesitate to summon the high-grade heavenly armament, Ink Dragon Sword. With the Ink Dragon Sword in hand, Xiao Chen's figure moved, and he directly used the ferocious tiger stampede to attack the demonic beast closest to him. Seeing Xiao Chen's attack, the demonic beast's expression changed abruptly, and it roared angrily. "Damn it! How can this human possess the power of bloodline and suppress me?" If it was under normal circumstances, this demonic beast would not even care about a mere lesser Dao querying realm human. However, at this moment, it was completely suppressed by Xiao Chen's bloodline power, and its strength was reduced to less than 10%. This feeling was extremely sullen. Without responding to the demonic beast's roar, Xiao Chun slashed out with his sword, and the Earth-class high-grade martial technique, 3-layered waves, was instantly executed. Terrifying spiritual energy was like a tidal wave, and it instantly swallowed the demonic beast. After succeeding in his attack, Xiao Chun did not stop, and he pointed out with his finger, using the Ganjiang sword finger, the 4th finger of the 9-heaven sword finger. A blood-red sword light burst out, and it instantly pierced through the demonic beast's forehead. From beginning to end, Xiao Chun had only used 2 moves, and the entire process happened in an instant. Before the other demonic beasts could react, Xiao Chun had already killed the Class 7 demonic beast. To be able to kill the demonic beast in 2 moves, the bloodline suppression played an important role. If not for the bloodline suppression, Shao Chun would definitely not have been able to kill this demonic beast. With the death of this Class 7 demonic beast, an opening appeared in front of Shao Chun. Without hesitation, Shao Chun stepped on the demonic beast's corpse, and in a flash, broke out of the encirclement of the 8 demonic beasts and ran into the dense forest ahead without looking back. Chapter 479. Shao Chun had killed a Class 7 demonic beast in just 2 moves. Furthermore, his cultivation was only at the initial Dao querying realm. Faced with such an outcome, the remaining 7 demonic beasts could not react in time. Only when Shao Chun broke out of the encirclement did the Class 8 battle ape roar angrily. Damn it! Capture this human. The battle ape wanted to capture Shao Chun. Hearing this, one of the Class 7 demonic beasts beside it said gloomily, "But this human can suppress our bloodline. We can't even unleash our strength against him." Originally, capturing an initial Dao querying realm human was an easy task for these demonic beasts. However, who would have thought that Shao Chun could actually suppress their bloodline? This was completely F***ed up. How could a human achieve bloodline suppression? They had never encountered such a situation before, which also led to the fact that when facing Shao Chun, even though these monsters had absolute, overwhelming strength, they were unable to display it at all, which made them feel extremely aggrieved. Hearing the Class 7 demonic beast's words, a look of helplessness flashed across the battle ape's eyes. That's right, Shao Chun's bloodline power was the nemesis of demonic beasts like them. After a moment of silence, the battle ape quickly said, "Then follow him. I will inform Lord Beast Emperor. This person is extremely strange. However, even with bloodline suppression, he is only at the Dao querying realm. Shao Chun's cultivation is still nothing." Shao Chun's strangeness was beyond the demonic beast's imagination. Hence, the battle ape decided to report this matter to Lord Beast Emperor. Hearing the battle ape's words, the remaining 6 Class 7 demonic beasts nodded solemnly. Immediately, they chased after Shao Chun. As for the battle ape, it went to report this matter to Lord Beast Emperor. Even until now, Shao Chun still found it hard to accept. After refining second sister Long Qing's essence blood, he could actually achieve bloodline suppression. In this way, when he faced demonic beasts in the future, wouldn't he have an innate advantage? Shao Chun was pleasantly surprised. However, it was clearly not the time to dwell on this matter. Sensing that the 6 Class 7 demonic beasts were chasing after him, a fierce look flashed across his eyes. "A bunch of bastards. Since you're courting death, don't blame me." Class 7 demonic beasts were equivalent to a human's Dao Gate realm cultivation. If he was facing 6 Dao querying realm warriors, Shao Chun would definitely not turn back. But facing 6 Class 7 demonic beasts, Shao Chun's bloodline suppression, which meant that he had the confidence, and bloodline suppression. Under bloodline suppression, Shao Chun had bloodline suppression, and he had bloodline suppression, Shao demonic suppression. Bloodline suppression. Bloodline suppression, suppression, bloodline, blood, demonic beasts. Bloodline suppression. Bloodline suppression, suppression. Now that the 6th level 7 demonic beasts were chasing after him, Shao Chun had a murderous intent in his heart. Since there was a bloodline suppression, then he could kill them. Thinking of this, Shao Chun did not hesitate and gradually slowed down. However, the best way to kill these 6 Class 7 demonic beasts was to kill them one by one. Otherwise, facing 6 Class 7 demonic beasts at once, even with bloodline suppression, Shao Chun would still be under a lot of pressure. He slowly slowed down. Soon, the 6 Class 7 demonic beasts caught up. Seeing that Shao Chun's speed was much slower than before, the 6 Class 7 demonic beasts did not react at first. They were all puzzled. Why did this human's speed slow down? Could it be that the spiritual energy in his body is about to be exhausted? Haha, if that's the case, then we've done a great service. Without spiritual energy, this human will be easy to capture. They guessed that Shao Chun had slowed down because the spiritual energy in his body had been exhausted. However, just as the 6 demonic beasts were talking, Shao Chun, who was still running, suddenly turned around and stabbed the demonic beast closest to him with his sword. The spiritual energy from the sword chi looked at Mo Yin. There was no sign of spiritual energy being exhausted. A dense aura of death instantly enveloped the Class 6 demonic beast. At the same time, Xiao Chun also used the dragon transformation to the extreme in an attempt to suppress the demonic beast's strength. The demonic beast's expression changed greatly. Then it shouted in horror, "Damn it, cunning human." He didn't run out of spiritual energy. He just wanted to kill us. Only then did the 6 demonic beasts realize that Xiao Chun had slowed down not because his spiritual energy was exhausted, but because Xiao Chun wanted to kill them. It finally reacted, but it was already too late. In order to kill the beast with a single strike, Xiao Chun did not hold back in the slightest. Sword will gushed out, and the ink dragon sword flickered with a faint black light. With a slash of the sword, the 7th grade demonic beast was cleanly killed. There were originally 7 Class 7 demonic beasts, but now 2 of them had been killed by Xiao Chun. After succeeding in one strike, Xiao Chun did not stop. He turned around and ran again, increasing the distance between him and the remaining 5 demonic beasts. Xiao Chun did not think of killing all of the demonic beasts at once. His idea was very simple, and that was to kill them one by one. Now that he had succeeded, there was naturally no need for him to be entangled with the remaining 5 demonic beasts. He first increased the distance between them, then slowly looked for an opportunity to kill them. Once again, he increased the distance between them. Seeing this, the remaining 5 demonic beasts' faces darkened. However, before they could react, Xiao Chun, who had increased the distance between them, once again took advantage of their weakness. He turned around and attacked again. The long sword in his hand slashed out again, killing another demonic beast. There are 4 left. After killing another demonic beast, Xiao Chun smiled coldly. Then, he used the same trick again and increased the distance between him and the remaining 4 demonic beasts. It had to be said that the intelligence of these demonic beasts was not inferior to that of humans. However, in terms of scheming, they were obviously not as good as humans. How should he put it? These demonic beasts could not be considered stupid. They could only be considered simple. They were like half-grown children who had not experienced the world. Although their intelligence was no different from that of an adult, their minds were very simple. It was also because of this that Xiao Chun could kill these demonic beasts so easily again and again. Otherwise, if they were human cultivators, they would either stop chasing or stick together. They would definitely not give Xiao Chun a chance to kill them one by one. And perhaps this was innate. After all, as their strength increased, the demonic beast's intelligence would slowly increase. In the end, they would not be weaker than humans. However, in the world of demonic beasts, they rarely schemed against each other like humans. Everything depended on strength. This also led to the fact that in terms of scheming, demonic beasts could not catch up with humans. With repeated surprise attacks, coupled with the bloodline suppression that could not be ignored, Xiao Chun quickly killed 5 demonic beasts. There was only 1 demonic beast left. It was just a piece of meat on Xiao Chun's chopping board. Xiao Chun swallowed several elixirs to recover his spiritual power. In order to kill these demonic beasts, he did not hold back at all. Therefore, after several attempts, he had consumed a lot of spiritual power in his body. At this time, relying on the recovery of these elixirs, Xiao Chun locked on to the last demonic beast. Chapter 480. With a slash of his sword, the last demonic beast's head was chopped off. At this point, the 6 grade 7 demonic beasts that were chasing after Xiao Chun were all slain by Xiao Chun. After dealing with the 6 demonic beasts, Xiao Chun did not stay any longer. He carried Bai Ryue on his back and ran towards the depths of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Although he already knew that the Blood Wolf King and the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge had reached an agreement, and the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge would definitely chase after him, Xiao Chun had no other choice but to rush out. As long as he rushed out of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, he would enter the Moonless Empire's territory. In this way, even if the Blood Wolf King had the ability to reach the heavens, it would not be able to do anything to him. Along the way, Xiaochen also encountered other demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts were easily dealt with by Xiaochen. With the bloodline suppression, Xiaochen did not put any demonic beasts below grade 7 in his eyes. Even if it was a grade 7 demonic beast, Xiaochen could still kill it. Only demonic beasts of grade 8 and above could pose a threat to Xiaochen. However, although there were many demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard Ridge, how many of them were grade 8 and above? Along the way, Xiaochen broke through the encirclement and killed all the way. Compared to Mang Mountain, it could be said that Xiaochen had killed his way through the Tiger Leopard Ridge. After all, the situation of the Tiger Leopard Ridge was completely different from that of Mang Mountain. When he was in Mang Mountain, the ones who chased after him were the Heavenly Wolf Imperial Guards. There were not many of them, but every one of them was an elite. Therefore, Xiaochen naturally did not have to confront them directly. However, the Tiger Leopard Ridge was different. Although there were many demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard Ridge, the number of low-grade demonic beasts was definitely the majority. Therefore, Xiaochen was naturally not afraid of them. After 3 days, Xiaochen had already gone deep into the heart of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. According to his current speed, he should be able to reach the border of the Moonless Empire in 5 or 6 days. By then, he would really be safe. After 3 whole days of bloody battles, Xiaochen had killed countless demonic beasts. Although most of them were low-level demonic beasts, Xiaochen's killing intent had become even stronger. Not only that, after such a fierce battle, Xiaochen's cultivation had finally reached the critical point of a breakthrough. It was said that fighting was the best way to cultivate, especially in a battle of life and death. These words were not false at all. Along the way, Xiaochen ate all kinds of elixirs as if they were candies. Originally, swallowing so many elixirs in succession would definitely cause harm to his body. However, because of the continuous bloody battles, the elixirs that remained in his body were gradually absorbed by him. Not only did it not cause any harm to his body, but it even pushed his cultivation to the brink of a breakthrough. After finding a secluded place, Xiaochen sat cross-legged. He could no longer suppress the breakthrough of his cultivation. As such, Xiaochen could only choose to break through. Fortunately, this was only a small realm breakthrough, and it was something that happened naturally. Therefore, the difficulty was not very high. Otherwise, Xiaochen would not dare to forcefully break through his cultivation in this dangerous Tiger Leopard Ridge. Xiaochen closed his eyes, and the spiritual energy in his body constantly attacked the barrier of the greater Tao querying realm. After about half an hour, a muffled boom came from Xiaochen's body. Then, Xiaochen's aura began to skyrocket. In the blink of an eye, it broke through the lesser Tao querying realm and reached the greater Tao querying realm. Everything happened naturally. After breaking through, Xiaochen slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He then looked at the worried Bairuyue and said with a smile, "Mother, let's go. Let's hurry to the Moonless Empire, and we will be completely safe." A breakthrough in cultivation was indeed something to be happy about, but it was obviously not the time to relax. Hearing Xiaochen's words, Bairuyue nodded slightly, and the two of them continued on their journey. With a breakthrough in his cultivation, Xiaochen's combat strength had skyrocketed again. With Xiaochen's current strength and the suppression of the bloodline, it was much easier for him to kill a level 7 demonic beast than it was at the beginning. They continued to rush towards the Moonless Empire. At the same time, in the palace in the middle of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, the Blood Wolf King once again met with the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor. 3 days had already passed, but Xiaochen was still nowhere to be found. The Blood Wolf King was in a very bad mood. Therefore, even though the Blood Wolf King did not get angry when facing the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor, his expression was very gloomy. "Lord Beast Emperor, it has already been 3 days. You still haven't caught that damned human?" The Blood Wolf King had already seen that the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor had no intention of helping him. They were just putting on an act. Although the Blood Wolf King was furious, he did not dare to get angry. After all, he was facing 2 Beast Emperors. Facing the Blood Wolf King's question, The leopard emperor on the high platform snorted and said, "Humph, Blood Wolf King, know your place. Why? Are you insisting on helping me?" The leopard emperor was a little unhappy with the Blood Wolf King's attitude. Hearing the leopard emperor, the Blood Wolf King was slightly stunned. Then, his expression eased a little. He cupped his hands and said in his heart, "Lord Leopard Emperor, please calm down. This little king did not mean that. It's just that I'm a little impatient because the princess has fallen into the hands of a thief. I hope Lord Leopard Emperor can forgive me." That's good. Also, regardless of whether we succeed or not, you must deliver the 1 million people you mentioned. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, the Leopard Emperor coldly replied. Hearing the Leopard Emperor's words, the anger in the Blood Wolf King's heart increased by another notch. This damned bastard, he never thought of sincerely helping this king. He only thought of the reward of the 1 million living people. The anger in his heart soared to the sky. At this moment, the Tiger Emperor suddenly laughed and said, "Ha ha, Blood Wolf King, you don't need to be anxious. I have already made arrangements. However, that human is a little strange. Although he's a human, he actually possesses the power of bloodline. It's very strange that he can suppress the bloodline of demonic beasts." Obviously, the Tiger Emperor and the others knew that Shao Chun possessed the power of bloodline. Hearing this, the Blood Wolf King didn't care about it. He only cared about one thing, and that was when he could get Bairuyue back. The Tiger Leopard Ridge was their last chance. If Shao Chun successfully brought Bairuyue out of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, then the two of them would enter the Moonless Empire's territory. At that time, even the Blood Wolf King wouldn't be able to do anything. After all, he couldn't possibly rush into the Moonless Empire to snatch Bairuyue back. If that was the case, then the Moonless Empire would be overjoyed. Just like Shao Chun, the Blood Wolf King also didn't have a way out. He must snatch Bairuyue back from the Tiger Leopard Ridge. With this thought in mind, the Blood Wolf King bowed to the Tiger Emperor and Leopard Emperor. This king wishes to personally lead a team to rescue the princess. I hope that Lord Beast Emperor will allow it. Chapter 481. The reason why the Blood Wolf King wanted to personally lead his men to kill Shao Chun was because he could see that the Tiger King and the Panther King were not sincere in helping him. Therefore, it was better to give him a few demon beasts to command and personally kill Shao Chun. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, the two beast emperors naturally knew what he was thinking, but they did not refuse. The Tiger Emperor laughed and said, "Haha, since the Blood Wolf King wants to do it personally, I will give you some demonic beasts." Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, the Blood Wolf King respectfully bowed and thanked. "Thank you, Lord Beast Emperor." Soon, the Tiger Emperor gave the Blood Wolf King a Beast King and 8 demonic beasts for him to command. With these 5 demonic beasts, the Blood Wolf King immediately went deep into the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Since he already knew the approximate location of Shao Chun, the Blood Wolf King only needed to search carefully, and it should not be difficult to find traces of Shao Chun. Unaware that the Blood Wolf King had personally led his men to kill him, Shao Chun continued his journey after breaking through to the greater Dao Querying Realm. At the same time, Zhang Qi, Gu Xiao, and the rest also led a group of Heavenly Chun continent cultivators into the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Originally, there were a total of over 30 people in the group, but at this time, only 20 or so people had successfully left Mount Mei. As for those who hadn't left, they had probably been caught by the Sky Wolf Guards and had either been killed or captured. The escape this time could be said to be a heavy loss, but this was normal. Facing the pursuit of the Heavenly Wolf Empire's most elite troops, it was already very difficult for the Heavenly Chun continent cultivators to escape. It was also due to the efforts of Zhang Qi and the rest. One after another, they entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge. As expected, Zhang Qi and the rest were also attacked by demonic beasts. However, compared to the Heavenly Wolf Guards, these demonic beasts were much easier to deal with. As they rushed towards the Moonless Empire, Zhang Qi and the rest searched for Shao Chun's whereabouts. Until now, there was no news of Shao Chun, so they could not help but feel worried. Could it be that the young master did not escape Mang Mountain? Since there was no news of Xiao Chen's whereabouts, Zhang Qi secretly guessed that Xiao Chun could not leave Mang Mountain. If that was the case, then Xiao Chun was in danger. Unable to determine Xiao Chen's exact location, Zhang Qi and the rest could only continue their journey. At the same time, when Zhang Qi and the rest entered the Tiger Leopard Ridge, Xiao Chun was to encounter a huge crisis. According to the informations to search, facing the Blood Wolf King. Although this was not the first time Xiao Chun came in contact with him, for the Blood Wolf King, it was the first time he saw Xiao Chen's true face. He recognized Xiao Chen's identity at a glance. After all, as one of the 4 great princes of the Heavenly Wolf Empire, the Blood Wolf King was very familiar with the Moonless Empire situation. Xiao Chun was in the Moonless Empire and was the nephew of the Burning Sky ruler. Therefore, the Heavenly Wolf Empire naturally obtained information about Xiao Chun. Therefore, the Blood Wolf King recognized Xiao Chen's identity at a glance. He did not expect that the one who rescued by Riyue would be Xiao Chun. Facing the Blood Wolf King's surprise, Xiao Chen's heart sank. Being blocked by the Blood Wolf King was not a good thing. Without any response, Xiao Chun carried by Riyue on his back and ran to the left in a flash. Seeing Xiao Chun running away without saying anything, the Blood Wolf King snorted coldly. "Oomph, do you think you can run away from me?" They were surprised by Xiao Chen's identity. After all, Xiao Chun and the Burning Sky ruler had suddenly appeared. The Celestial Wolf Empire had been paying close attention to this matter. After all, the Burning Sky ruler was a Dao Emperor realm expert. Such an expert was an existence that the 3 empires had to pay close attention to. However, when Xiao Chun turned and ran without saying anything, the Blood Wolf King suppressed the surprise in his heart and immediately ordered the 5 demonic beasts beside him to give chase. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's order, although the 5 demonic beasts were secretly displeased, they did not refuse and immediately chased after Xiao Chun. 1 Beast King and 4 level 8 demonic beasts. With such a lineup, it was not difficult to catch up to Xiao Chun. Therefore, the Blood Wolf King followed behind unhurriedly as he constantly pondered about Xiao Chen's matter. In the Moonless Empire, Xiao Chen's identity was not simple. Merely being the nephew of the Burning Sky ruler was already something that could not be ignored. If I can capture this kid, perhaps I can make use of him. The Blood Wolf King muttered softly as he pondered in his heart. If they captured Xiao Chun, the Heavenly Wolf Empire could use him to threaten the Burning Sky ruler. If they could make the Burning Sky ruler become a member of the Heavenly Wolf Empire, it would be perfect. At that time, with the Burning Sky ruler cooperating with the Moonless Empire, the Heavenly Wolf Empire would definitely be able to catch the Moonless Empire off guard. After recognizing Xiao Chen's identity, the Blood Wolf King suddenly changed his mind. Originally, he wanted to kill Xiao Chun, but now, the Blood Wolf King wanted to capture Xiao Chun alive because Xiao Chen's identity was too special. If he could be captured alive, it would be very beneficial to the Heavenly Wolf Empire. With this in mind, the Blood Wolf King quickly chased after Xiao Chun, being chased by a Dao Master expert. In addition to the fact that Xiao Chun was carrying by Riyue on his back, it was almost impossible for him to escape in such a situation. Soon, the Blood Wolf King caught up and blocked Xiao Chen's path again. He sneered and said, "Xiao Chun, do you think you can still escape from my hands?" Chun, seeing that the Blood Wolf King blocked her way again, by Riyue's face turned ashen. Xiao Chun could use various means to kill a Dao Transformation Realm warrior, but was absolutely impossible for him to kill a Dao Master expert. The gap between the two of them could not be made up by external forces. It was as if they had fallen into a dead end. Hearing by Riyue's words, Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. "Mother, the worst that can happen is death. I will never let you fall into the hands of the Blood Wolf King again." Even if he died, he would never let Bai Riyue fall into the hands of the Blood Wolf King again. Hearing this, Bai Riyue nodded. However, the Blood Wolf King's face changed slightly when he heard this. "She's your mother?" Previously, The Blood Wolf King did not know the relationship between Bai Ruyue and Xiao Chun. Now that he heard the conversation between the two, he knew that Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue were mother and son. Suddenly, the Blood Wolf King realized that the Wang Huan who came to the mansion was most likely Xiao Chun in disguise. I see. Xiao Chun, so you came from afar to save your mother. Haha, but unfortunately, with me here today, you have no chance. Chapter 482. It turned out that Xiao Chun was so desperate because Bai Ruyue was his mother. Wang Huan, who had visited his mansion a few days ago, was obviously Xiao Chun in disguise. As for where the real Wang Huan went, it had nothing to do with the Blood Wolf King. Looking at Xiao Chun, the Blood Wolf King was full of confidence. Since he had already cornered Xiao Chun was like a turtle in a jar to the Blood Wolf King. There was no chance for him to escape. After all, Xiao Chun was only in the Dao querying realm. To the Blood Wolf King, he was too weak. Without answering the Blood Wolf King, Xiao Chun stared at the Blood Wolf King. He was constantly thinking of ways to escape, but unfortunately, he had no way to deal with the Blood Wolf King who was in the Dao Master Realm. Xiao Chun, you will never be able to return to the Moonless Empire. Come with me to the Celestial Wolf Empire. That way, you can live longer. Haha. After knowing Xiao Chun's identity, the Blood Wolf King had already thought of killing Xiao Chun. Keeping Xiao Chun alive was obviously more useful. As his voice fell, the Blood Wolf King slowly stretched out his right hand and clenched it in the direction of Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue. For a moment, Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue were forcefully separated by an irresistible force. Then, Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue's movements were sealed. They could not even move a finger. The Blood Wolf King had captured Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue with a flip of his hand. This was the absolute gap in strength that no force could make up for. After capturing Xiao Chun easily, the Blood Wolf King took a step forward and arrived in front of Bai Ruyue in an instant. He gently helped Bai Ruyue up and leaned forward slightly, as if his whole body was leaning on Bai Ruyue. Being so close to Bai Ruyue, the Blood Wolf King greedily smelled the scent on Bai Ruyue's body. He sneered and said, I told you that you will never escape from me. You are destined to be my woman. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, Bai Ruyue replied coldly, in your dreams. Even if I die, I will never be your woman. After being captured by the Blood Wolf King, Bai Ruyue was already prepared to die. However, after hearing her words, the Blood Wolf King didn't seem to care at all and laughed. Aha, you will soon find out that death is a luxury for you. Previously, I wanted to give you time to slowly accept me. However, after this incident, I have thought it through. Even if I can't obtain your heart, I will be satisfied to obtain your body. Ha! There was an obvious change in his attitude towards Bai Ruyue. Previously, the Blood Wolf King wanted Bai Ruyue to gradually fall in love with him. Now, the Blood Wolf King only wanted to possess Bai Ruyue's body because he knew that it was impossible for Bai Ruyue to fall in love with him. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, Bai Ruyue's face became extremely gloomy. On the other hand, Xiao Chun gritted his teeth and didn't say a word from the beginning to the end. It wasn't that Xiao Chun was afraid, but that Xiao Chun knew that cursing and roaring at this time would only make him look weak. Xiao Chun was still thinking about how to escape. Moreover, if he couldn't escape in the end, Xiao Chun would never let Bai Ruyue fall into the Blood Wolf King's hands. Even if he had to die with his mother, he would never let the Blood Wolf King have his way. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he kept thinking about how to escape. However, just as the Blood Wolf King said, if they fell into his hands, Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue's death would become an extravagant hope. Not to mention escaping, they couldn't even commit suicide. The spiritual energy in their bodies had been completely imprisoned by the Blood Wolf King and couldn't be mobilized at all. Thus, how could they commit suicide? The Blood Wolf King didn't care about Bai Ruyue's cold expression. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Chun and ruthlessly kicked Xiao Chun without any warning. His entire body was directly kicked into the air. After smashing through several large trees, he fell heavily to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Without the greed for Bai Ruyue, The Blood Wolf King only had endless coldness when facing Shao Chun. After kicking Shao Chun, the Blood Wolf King coldly said, "You want to snatch someone from me? You're not worthy. If it weren't for the fact that you still have some use, I would have ended you right now. But now, I have thought of a very good idea. As a son, I wonder how you will feel when you see your mother marry me." Haha. The Blood Wolf King didn't intend to kill Shao Chun with his kick. Hearing his words, the heavily injured Shao Chun gritted his teeth and stared at the Blood Wolf King with bloodshot eyes without saying a word. There was no crazed roaring or cursing. There was only endless murderous intent. There had never been a moment when Shao Chun wanted to kill someone so badly. Chun-er. Shao Chun stared at the Blood Wolf King, while Bai Ryue's face was already covered in tears. What a deep relationship between mother and son. Haha, good. Follow me back to the Heavenly Wolf Empire. I have plenty of time to entertain you too. Laughing loudly again, the Blood Wolf King immediately rushed towards the Heavenly Wolf Empire with Shao Chun and Bai Ryue. After successfully capturing Shao Chun and Bai Ryue, the Blood Wolf King naturally couldn't continue to stay in the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Even the 5 demonic beasts that were following him were forced to retreat by the Blood Wolf King. The Blood Wolf King rushed towards the Heavenly Wolf Empire alone with Shao Chun and Bai Ryue. Because he didn't want to waste time, the Blood Wolf King directly flew with the two of them. As a super expert of the Dao Sovereign Realm, with the Blood Wolf King's speed, they would enter the Heavenly Wolf Empire in less than a day. Seeing that the Heavenly Wolf Empire was getting closer and closer, Shao Chun's heart sank. Facing a super expert of the Dao Sovereign Realm, Shao Chun could only feel a deep sense of powerlessness. In the face of absolute strength, any method was pale and powerless. It was as if he could already foresee his ending. However, when he thought that his mother would really be raped by the Blood Wolf King, the killing intent in Shao Chun's heart couldn't help but burst out. Seeing that there was no hope left, Shao Chun could only allow himself to be manipulated by the Blood Wolf King. Just as Shao Chun was about to fall into despair, an angry roar was heard. Then a white-haired old man rushed towards the Blood Wolf King to kill him. "Blood Wolf King, don't hurt my young master." The aura of the old man who suddenly appeared was not weaker than that of Blood Wolf King. Apparently, he had also reached the town master realm. Shao Chun's eyes flashed with excitement when he saw the old man. It was none other than Zhang Qi, who had followed him all the way here. Chapter 483. Zhang Qi's sudden appearance made Shao Chun and Bai Ryue overjoyed. Originally, Shao Chun had no way to deal with the Blood Wolf King because the difference in strength between the two was too great. But now that Zhang Qi had appeared, the situation was completely different. Not only Shao Chun, but Zhang Qi was also surprised. Originally, Zhang Qi had been looking for Shao Chun's whereabouts, but to no avail. Who would have thought that she would see Shao Chun and Bai Ryue captured by the Blood Wolf King today? The Blood Wolf King could only blame himself for being too careless, or it could be said that he wanted to return to the Celestial Wolf Empire as soon as possible. So along the way, the Blood Wolf King only cared about rushing and did not pay attention to hiding his whereabouts. In addition, in order to return to the Celestial Wolf Empire as soon as possible, the Blood Wolf King directly flew in the sky with Shao Chun and Bai Ryue. As a result, the Blood Wolf King naturally became a bigger target and could be easily discovered. Because of this, the Blood Wolf King neglected a very important problem. This time, there were experts from the Heavenly Chun continent with Shao Chun. Having realized his mistake, the Blood Wolf King's face was gloomy when he saw Zhang Qi rushing towards him. From Zhang Qi's aura, the Blood Wolf King naturally knew that she was a super expert of the Dao Master Realm who was not weaker than him. Damn it, the Blood Wolf King could not help but curse. But now, the Blood Wolf King had no other choice. Whether he was willing or not, Zhang Qi had already made a move, and the only thing he could do was to fight back. "Blood Wolf King, how dare you hurt young master? Die!" With a roar, Zhang Qi angrily attacked Blood Wolf King. She threw out a fierce punch with terrifying power. In the face of Zhang Qi's punch, the Blood Wolf King did not flinch at all and met it with his palm. When the fist and palm collided, the terrifying aftermath of the attack suddenly formed a hurricane, blowing Shao Chun and Bai Riyue away. Their cultivation had long been sealed by the Blood Wolf King, so at this time, in the face of the aftermath of the battle between the two, neither Shao Chun nor Bai Riyue had the slightest power to resist. However, it was precisely because of the aftermath of the battle that Shao Chun and Bai Riyue successfully pulled away from the Blood Wolf King. At the same time, from the dense forest below, several figures immediately rose into the air. These people had followed Zhang Qi all the way from the Mang Mountain to the Tiger Leopard Ridge. They had already discussed that Zhang Qi would hold back the Blood Wolf King, while they would take the opportunity to save Shao Chun and Bai Riyue. Several figures quickly arrived in front of Shao Chun and Bai Riyue. Without caring about anything else, they hugged the two of them and disappeared into the dense forest once again without turning their heads. Seeing Shao Chun and Bai Riyue being taken away, the Blood Wolf King immediately shouted angrily, "Damn it! All of you should die for this king." The prey that was already in his hands was now rescued by others. How could the Blood Wolf King not be angry? Ignoring Zhang Qi, he directly sent a palm towards Shao Chun's direction. However, Zhang Qi was a step ahead and blocked the Blood Wolf King's palm. After successfully blocking the Blood Wolf King's attack, Zhang Qi sneered, "Blood Wolf King, your opponent is me." After saying that, Zhang Qi once again moved forward and engaged in a fierce battle with the Blood Wolf King. He wanted to take back Shao Chun and Bai Riyue, but because of Zhang Qi's existence, the Blood Wolf King could not get away at all and was forcibly held back by Zhang Qi. Fighting fiercely with Zhang Qi, the Blood Wolf King was extremely angry and did not show any mercy. He angrily shouted, "Old fart, this king will kill you." "Humph, I'm afraid the winner is still unknown." Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, Zhang Qi coldly replied. In the sky, the Blood Wolf King and Zhang Qi, two super masters in the Tao Master realm, were fighting fiercely. In the dense forest, Shao Chun and Bai Riyue were quickly leaving under the protection of 8 warriors from the Tianqian continent. They did not wait for Zhang Qi, but fled directly. After all, in the face of a super expert like the Blood Wolf King, they would only be a burden to Zhang Qi if they stayed. Moreover, compared to the Blood Wolf King, Zhang Qi was still injured. Therefore, it was unrealistic to rely on Zhang Qi to defeat the Blood Wolf King. Time was still running out, and Zhang Qi would definitely be the first to be defeated. At that time, it would be troublesome. Because of this, Zhang Qi told everyone that once they successfully rescued Shao Chun and Bai Riyue, they should immediately retreat. As for Zhang Qi, after everyone left, he would find a way to escape. It would be difficult for the Blood Wolf King to keep Zhang Qi here alone. Along the way, everyone left a unique mark to guide Zhang Qi to find them. Shao Chun heaved a sigh of relief when he was hugged by 2 Dao Transformation Realm warriors from the Tianqian continent. Zhang Qi's appearance was just too timely. If he had not met Zhang Qi, he and his mother would have been in great danger. After escaping from death, Shao Chun's heart was filled with a strong desire for strength. This encounter made Shao Chun realize that his strength was too weak, especially when facing an expert like the Blood Wolf King. He did not have any strength to resist at all. Imagine if Shao Chun had the strength to contend with the Blood Wolf King. He would not have fallen into such a situation. However, there was no other way. Shao Chun's cultivation time was not even a fraction of the Blood Wolf King's. It was obviously unrealistic for him to compete with an expert like the Blood Wolf King. However, the age gap could not be used as an excuse for Shao Chun to comfort himself. In any case, Shao Chun urgently wanted to improve his strength. Even if it was not for the Blood Wolf King, everyone came to the Tianna continent to improve their strength. Don't forget that many of their compatriots in the Tianqian continent were still waiting for them. After this time, after settling my mother, I have to improve my strength as soon as possible. Tian Fengxingzong is a good choice. He secretly decided in his heart. Shao Chun had already made up his mind. After settling the matter of the Wiyue Empire and settling down his mother, he would head to the Heavenly Wind Holy Sect. Anyway, he had already promised Guqi that he would participate in the selection of the holy sects. Moreover, the Heavenly Wind Holy Sect was the best choice for Xiao Chun. After all, it was a sect with a saint in charge. There would definitely be many cultivation holy lands and treasures in the Heavenly Wind Holy Sect, where he could quickly improve his cultivation. He made a decision in his heart, but the premise was that he had to safely return to the Wuyue Empire. After a few hours of running, they found a secret place to stop. Then, the 8 warriors of the Tianqian continent began to help Xiao Chun and Bai Riyue to break the seal on the Blood Wolf King. However, the Blood Wolf King was a super expert of the Dao Master realm. Even though the seal on Xiao Chun and Bai Riyue was just a casual move, it was not that easy to break it. The 8 warriors of the Tianqian continent worked together and spent a total of 4 hours to break the seal on Xiao Chun and Bai Riyue. Chapter 484. It took them 2 hours to break the seal on Xiao Chun and Bai Riyue's bodies. After recovering their cultivation, Xiao Chun moved his body and cupped his hands towards the crowd. "Thank you, seniors." Facing Xiao Chun's gratitude, the crowd did not dare to be arrogant. They all cupped their hands and bowed. "Bewitching sword-proud king is too polite. This is what we should do." These people were all warriors from the Heavenly Chun continent. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Xiao Chun asked them about their plan. After learning that Zhang Qi would meet up with them after getting rid of the Blood Wolf King, Xiao Chun did not say anything. However, he was a little worried. When Zhang Qi was in peak condition, the Blood Wolf King and Zhang Qi were only evenly matched. Now that Zhang Qi was injured, it would not be easy for her to get rid of the Blood Wolf King. He was worried about Zhang Qi's safety. After all, the Blood Wolf King was not a simple person. Moreover, he had reached an agreement with the demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard mountain range. As a result, Zhang Qi's situation was even more dangerous. Once the demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard mountain range joined in, would Zhang Qi be able to escape successfully? Worried about Zhang Qi's safety, Xiao Chun also wanted to go back and rescue her. However, with his current strength, not only would he not be able to save Zhang Qi, he might even harm her. This was because it was easier for Zhang Qi to escape alone. If he went, he would only be a burden to Zhang Qi. Knowing this, Xiao Chun had no other choice. The only thing he could do now was to return to the Moonless Empire as soon as possible. With no other choice, Xiao Chun led the crowd and continued their journey. After 3 days, the Blood Wolf King did not catch up with them. This made everyone secretly relieved. This proved that Zhang Qi was still alive. Otherwise, if the Blood Wolf King killed Zhang Qi, the first thing it would do was to chase after Xiao Chun and the others. The Blood Wolf King didn't appear, which meant that Zhang Qi was fine for the time being. But at the same time, Zhang Qi didn't come to meet up with everyone. So, there was only one possibility. Zhang Qi was still entangled with the Blood Wolf King and couldn't shake it off. Because Zhang Qi was holding back the Blood Wolf King, everyone was temporarily safe. Although they would occasionally encounter attacks from demon beasts, after a series of encounters, Xiao Chun could see that the demon beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge were not sincere in helping the Blood Wolf King. Otherwise, with the strength of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, any one of the Beast Emperors would be enough to kill Xiao Chun and the others. It was precisely because the Tiger Leopard Ridge's demonic beasts were not sincere in helping the Blood Wolf King that Xiao Chun and the others were able to survive until now. However, although Xiao Chun and the others were temporarily safe, Zhang Qi's situation was very bad. Just as Xiao Chun thought, for 3 days, although Zhang Qi wanted to shake off the Blood Wolf King, she couldn't succeed. The Blood Wolf King seemed to be determined to kill her, and had been chasing Zhang Qi for 3 days. Zhang Qi fought and retreated. While fighting, she looked for opportunities to escape. Although she had successfully shaken off the Blood Wolf King several times, the Blood Wolf King would soon catch up and the two would fight again. After 3 days of fighting, Zhang Qi, who was already injured, was in a very bad situation. In this way, Zhang Qi would be killed by the Blood Wolf King sooner or later. After successfully shaking off the Blood Wolf King again, Zhang Qi didn't dare to fly in the air. She could only send messages in the dense forest. While escaping, Zhang Qi whispered softly, "I have to quickly shake off the Blood Wolf King. The elixirs have been used up. If this continues, it won't be good." After a series of fierce battles, Zhang Qi had used up all her elixirs. Just as Zhang Qi was thinking about this, an angry roar suddenly came from behind her. "Old bastard, let's see where you can run to. Die for this king." This roar was not unfamiliar to Zhang Qi. If it wasn't the Blood Wolf King, who else could it be? Along with the roar, the Blood Wolf King rushed over. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely dense. Zhang Qi didn't expect the Blood Wolf King to catch up so quickly. Facing the Blood Wolf King's attack, Zhang Qi could only fight back. Blood Wolf King was determined to kill Zhang Qi. Blood Wolf King was determined to kill Zhang Qi. It was as if he would not stop until Zhang Qi was dead. Zhang Qi and the Blood Wolf King were constantly entangled in the Tiger Leopard Ridge. At this time, Xiao Chun and the others were also frequently attacked by the demonic beasts. There were even a few times when they were almost captured by the demonic beasts. Fortunately, along the way, Xiao Chun had already met Gu Xiao and the other 3 Dao King realm experts and more than 10 Heavenly Chun continent cultivators. Everyone had gathered together again. However, compared to before, only half of the Heavenly Chun continent cultivators had left Mount Mang alive. There were originally more than 30 people, but now there were less than 20 people left. The casualties were very heavy. After meeting up with Gu Xiao and the other 2 Dao King realm experts, Gu Xiao also told Xiao Chen the news he had received. Previously, Gu Xiao had already learned from the demonic beast that the Tiger Leopard Ridge's demonic beasts would help the Blood Wolf King, because the Blood Wolf King had promised to give the demonic beasts 1,000,000 living humans as compensation in exchange for their help. Hearing that the Blood Wolf King actually used 1,000,000 living humans as a condition to get the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge to help, Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with coldness. This guy is really a beast. 1,000,000 living humans were given to the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge for nothing. Yeah, the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge are completely different from our Heavenly Chun continent. They feed on humans. Once the 1,000,000 living humans fall into their hands, the consequences can be imagined. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, a Dao King realm expert said, "Master, now is not the time to care about this. Now that Senior Zhang Qi is holding the Blood Wolf King back, we need to rush out of the Tiger Leopard Ridge and return to the Moonless Empire as soon as possible." Gu Xiao said, no matter how many living humans the Blood Wolf King sent to the Tiger Leopard Ridge, it did not concern Xiao Chun and the others. Gu Xiao was only thinking about how to get out of danger. Xiao Chun slightly shook his head when he heard Gu Xiao's words. If it was before, Xiao Chun would definitely want to return to the Moonless Empire as soon as possible. But now, an extremely crazy and bold idea suddenly appeared in Xiao Chen's mind, and that was to cooperate with the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. Since the Blood Wolf King could cooperate with the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge, why couldn't he? Moreover, Xiao Chen had a trump card that the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge couldn't refuse. It was definitely more tempting than the 1,000,000 living humans of the Blood Wolf King. However, Xiao Chun didn't have absolute confidence in convincing the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge. But it was definitely worth a try, because once the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge were convinced, Xiao Chun and the others would no longer be in any danger. Moreover, the reason why they could still escape from the Tiger Leopard Ridge was because the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge were not helping the Blood Wolf King wholeheartedly. Once the Blood Wolf King raised the stakes again and the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge attacked with all their strength, Xiao Chun and the others would be in trouble. Therefore, Xiao Chun wanted to take the risk. Chapter 485. Xiao Chun pondered the feasibility of working with the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. After a while, he told everyone his idea. When they heard that Xiao Chun wanted to work with the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge, the 3 Dao King realm experts led by Gu Xiao, had a drastic change in expression. Young master, you can't do that. The demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge have already sided with the Bloodwolf King. If we work with them, wouldn't it be the same as sending sheep to the tiger's den? Gu Xiao said, That's right. King Bewitching Sword. The demonic beasts of China Continent are different from those of Heavenly Qin Continent. The demonic beasts of Heavenly Qin Continent have already been beaten by the rulers of Heavenly Qin Continent many years ago, so they don't dare to do anything to humans. However, the demonic beasts of China Continent are different. They feed on humans. The other two Dao King realm experts also dissuaded. Gu Xiao and the others didn't agree with Xiao Chen's idea. Hearing the three's words, Xiao Chen shook his head and said, Although the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge have sided with the Bloodwolf King, they are only motivated by benefits. If we can offer better conditions, it's not impossible to rope in the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. Moreover, if we can rope in the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge, it's not only for our safety, but also for great benefits in the future. The demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge and the Bloodwolf King were only motivated by benefits. It was because of this that Xiao Chan dared to talk about working with the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. At the same time, if he could really reach an agreement with the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge, not only would the current crisis be resolved instantly, but it would also be immeasurably beneficial for Xiao Chen's future plans. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. Most importantly, Zhang Qi's whereabouts were still unknown. According to Xiao Chen's guess, Zhang Qi was probably still entangled with the Bloodwolf King. After so many days, Zhang Qi's condition must be very bad. Xiao Chen absolutely couldn't watch Zhang Qi die at the hands of the Bloodwolf King. If he wanted to save Zhang Qi, persuading the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge was the only way. Although he didn't have absolute confidence, no matter how he looked at it, it was worth it to talk with the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. Xiao Chen insisted on talking to the demonic beasts of Tiger Leopard Ridge. Seeing this, everyone tried their best to stop him, but Xiao Chen had already made up his mind. In the end, Xiao Chen ignored everyone's objections and made his decision. And Gu Xiao Gu Wood and Gu Xiao as and Gu Xiao, Xiao and Gu and Gu. 2. To the B, Gu Xiao Ridge. Everyone knew that Xiao Chen had made up his mind, so they didn't say anything. However, they didn't believe Xiao Chen when he said he would take the initiative to look for them. Because this time, Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao went to meet the Tiger Leopard Ridge's Beast Emperor. There were only two possibilities. First, Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao could persuade the Beast Emperor. Then everyone would be safe. The second possibility was that Xiao Chen couldn't persuade the Beast Emperor. The result was obvious. It was absolutely impossible for them to come out alive. Ignoring everyone's objections, Xiao Chen directly made the decision. Before leaving, Xiao Chen said to Bai Ryu, Mother, don't worry. I will be fine. You must be careful. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Bai Ryu didn't say anything. She only gave a simple reminder. In fact, from the bottom of her heart, Bai Ryu didn't want Xiao Chen to go. However, there was no other way. How could Bai Ryu not understand her son's character? Since he was young, as long as Xiao Chen decided to do something, no one could change his mind, including her, his mother. Therefore, Bai Ryu didn't say anything. She believed that Xiao Chen wasn't a reckless person. He must have a specific plan in mind. Xiao Chen nodded slightly to Bai Ryu. Then, it led Gu Xiao and Gu Xiao. After separating from the crowd, Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao didn't know the location of the Tiger Leopard Ridge's Beast Emperor. However, this didn't hinder them. They randomly found a high-level demonic beast and believed that it would bring Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao there. Not long after, Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao encountered an 8th-level demonic beast. When it saw Xiao Chen and Gu Xiao, the 8th-level demonic beast immediately prepared to escape. However, Xiao Chen had already ordered Gu Xiao to capture it. Xiao Chen easily captured the 8th-level demonic beast. He walked up to it and said with a calm expression, I want to see the Tiger Leopard Ridge's Beast Emperor. Can you bring me there? Xiao Chen wanted to see the Beast Emperor. Hearing this, the 8th-level demonic beast was stunned. Was this human crazy? Now that all the demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard Ridge were looking for them, he actually wanted to take the initiative to see the Beast Emperor. Wasn't this seeking his own death? The 8th-level demonic beast was unable to react. After being stunned for a while, it said in disbelief, "Despicable human, what tricks are you trying to play now? Haha, nothing fancy. There are only 2 of us here anyway. Do you dare to take me to see your Beast Emperor?" Xiao Chun laughed loudly after hearing what Fu Tian said. There were only 2 humans, Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu, who posed no threat to the Beast Emperor. After a moment of silence, the 8th-level demonic beast finally snorted coldly. "Humph, since you want to die, then let's go. However, don't run away halfway." "Of course not. Lead the way," Xiao Chun said with a smile. With the 8th-level demonic beast, Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu naturally arrived at the demonic beast village without any obstructions. It was not a large village, but the demonic beasts living there were at least beast kings. In the Tiger Leopard Ridge, those who had not reached Beast King were not qualified to live in this small village. However, as soon as Xiao Chun arrived outside the village, 2 brawny men immediately blocked his way. They were 2 demonic beasts at the level of Beast Kings in human form. They glanced at Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu in confusion. Afterwards, the 8th-level demonic beast respectfully stepped forward and whispered something to the 2 Beast Kings. Immediately, the 2 Beast Kings came to a realization and sneered as they arrived before Xiao Chun. "They all say that you humans are extremely treacherous. However, it seems that is not entirely true. You are quite foolish. You clearly know that the demonic beasts of the Tiger Leopard Ridge are after you, yet you still dare to take the initiative to come here. Haha, really? However, I don't think you really want to catch me. Otherwise, how could you have let me escape until now? Since you don't really want to catch me, then I have a cooperation that I would like to discuss with your Tiger Leopard Ridge. I wonder if your Beast Emperor has the courage to see me?" Xiao Chun smiled fearlessly when he heard the Beast King's words. There was no fear at all. Hearing that, the Beast King's smile vanished. However, before he could speak, loud laughter rang out from the village. "Ha, what an interesting human boy. Let him in. I would like to see what he has to say." Chapter 486. Xiao Chun had walked right into the trap. However, as the Tiger Emperor's hearty laughter rang out, the Beast King blocking the entrance of the village naturally didn't dare to refuse. It silently led Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu into the village. The area of the village wasn't considered large. After all, even though there were countless demonic beasts in the Tiger Leopard Ridge, there weren't many demonic beasts that could reach the Beast King realm. Therefore, there were less than 1,000 demonic beasts that could live here. Following behind the Beast King, Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu quickly arrived at the large hall in the center of the village. They immediately saw the Tiger Emperor and the Panther Emperor on the high platform. At the same time, the 2 Beast Emperors also looked at Xiao Chun. The Tiger Emperor had a faint smile on his face. He seemed to be quite interested in Xiao Chun. As for the Panther Emperor, its face was calm. There wasn't any joy or sadness on its face. As Xiao Chun and Gu Xiu arrived, the Tiger Emperor waved his hand and said, "There's nothing for you to do here." After ordering the Beast King to retreat, only Xiao Chun, Gu Xiu, and the 2 Beast Emperors were left in the large hall. At this time, the Tiger Emperor smiled at Xiao Chun with great interest. "Human boy, you're really interesting. Aren't you afraid of death? We're looking for you right now. If we hand you over to the Blood Wolf King, he'll probably be very happy." Xiao Chun actually dared to take the initiative to come to the Tiger Emperor. This made the Tiger Emperor somewhat surprised. At the same time, he was also a little curious about Xiao Chun. Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, Xiao Chun calmly replied, "Will Lord Beast Emperor hand me over?" If Lord Beast Emperor had made up his mind to capture me from the beginning, I'm afraid I would have been handed over to the Blood Wolf King long ago. He was sure that the 2 Beast Emperors in front of him were not interested in capturing him. Otherwise, Xiao Chun and the others would not have lasted for so long in Tiger Leopard Ridge. They would have been captured long ago. This was also the main reason why Xiao Chun dared to come here. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, the Tiger Emperor laughed and said, that's not necessarily the case. Although this emperor has no interest in you, since you have taken the initiative to come here, this emperor will be more than happy to hand you over to the Blood Wolf King. Well, let's get straight to the point. Since you dare to come here, you must have something to rely on. But if you can't convince this emperor, you can stay here and wait for the Blood Wolf King to pick you up. Since Xiao Chan dared to take the initiative to come here, he must have something to rely on. The Tiger Emperor had already thought of this, and his meaning was also very obvious. Either Xiao Chun convinced himself, or he would hand Xiao Chun over to the Blood Wolf King. Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, Xiao Chun took a deep breath and said, Lord Beast Emperor is indeed straightforward. Actually, I came here because I wanted to cooperate with Lord Beast Emperor. Cooperation? Interesting. Then tell me, how do you plan to cooperate with this emperor? The Blood Wolf King used 1 million people in exchange for my Tiger Leopard Ridge's help. Do you think you can offer a higher price than him? The Imperial Father laughed. Without the slightest intention of hiding anything, he directly told Xiao Chun the price that the Blood Wolf King offered. Hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, Xiao Chun instantly understood. The meaning behind the Tiger Emperor's words was that if he couldn't offer a higher price than the Blood Wolf King, then there was no need for him to lie down and obediently go with the Blood Wolf King. Xiao Chen's expression didn't change in the slightest. As soon as the Tiger Emperor finished speaking, he said in a deep voice, The reason why I dare to come here is naturally because I'm certain of something. I have 2 bargaining chips in my hands. The first one is the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire. This time, Xiao Chun came here mainly for 2 chips. The first chip was the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire. The Blood Wolf King used 1 million people as a condition, while Xiao Chun used the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire as a condition. One had to know that as one of the 3 great empires in Danyang County, the total number of soldiers in the Heavenly Wolf Empire was at least over 100 million. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, the Tiger Emperor and Leopard Emperor looked at each other. Then, the Leopard Emperor said coldly, You want to use the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire as a bargaining chip? The number is enough, but will your Heavenly Wolf Empire's army listen to you and obediently enter Tiger Leopard Ridge and become lambs waiting to be slaughtered? Xiao Chen's bargaining chip was indeed enough, but why did it sound like he was trying to trick a 3-year-old child? Facing the Leopard Emperor's question, Xiao Chen smiled faintly. This junior naturally has a way to turn the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire into lambs waiting to be slaughtered. This junior can make the Moonless Empire and the Heavenly Wolf Empire go to war. When the time comes, with Lord Beast Emperor's Tiger Leopard Ridge, the Heavenly Wolf Empire will definitely be destroyed. At that time, I can make the decision to give the entire army of the Heavenly Wolf Empire to Tiger Leopard Ridge for free and let Lord Beast Emperor do whatever he wants. Before coming here, he had already thought of everything. The first chip that Xiao Chun offered could be said to be extremely beneficial to the Moonless Empire. This was because the strength of the Moonless Empire and the Heavenly Wolf Empire was about the same. The 2 empires had been at odds with each other for hundreds of years. At this time, if they could obtain the help of the demonic beast from Tiger Leopard Ridge, the 2 empires would definitely be able to destroy the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Xiao Chen's first condition could be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only would it solve the current crisis, it would also completely eliminate the Heavenly Wolf Empire. However, after hearing Xiao Chen's words, the Tiger Emperor and Leopard Emperor were no fools. They quickly understood Xiao Chen's thoughts. He wanted to use Tiger Leopard Ridge to destroy the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Naturally, a Beast Emperor couldn't be an idiot. With a clear laugh, the Tiger Emperor's eyes gradually revealed a trace of killing intent. Haha, what a cunning human boy. You want to use this Emperor to eliminate the Heavenly Wolf Empire, right? You said that the Heavenly Wolf Empire has hundreds of millions of troops, but in fact, you want this Emperor to help. Do you think this chip is qualified? The 1 million people that the Blood Wolf King expelled were sent to Tiger Leopard Ridge. They didn't need the demonic beast from Tiger Leopard Ridge to do anything. On the other hand, Xiao Qin's ship required the demonic beast from Tiger Leopard Ridge to defeat him with their own strength. They were two completely different matters. The Tiger Emperor instantly saw through Xiao Qin's thoughts. After speaking, he paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, his voice had gradually turned cold. Moreover, why should I believe your words? Is the Moonless Empire going to war with the Heavenly Wolf Empire? Do you think you're the Emperor of the Moonless Empire or the retired Emperor? Human boy, if this is your chip, then I'm afraid you can only follow the Blood Wolf King. Obviously, the Tiger Emperor and Leopard Emperor weren't interested in Xiao Qin's chip. They even thought that Xiao Qin was joking with them. A faint trace of anger gradually emerged in their hearts. Facing the two beast emperors who were already angry, Gu Xiu's expression changed slightly. However, Xiao Qin still spoke with a calm expression. The Moonless Empire will definitely send troops. I can guarantee this. Moreover, Lord Beast Emperors, this junior has already said that this junior has two chips. This is only the first one. This junior has a second chip. It won't be too late for Lord Beast Emperors to make a decision after listening to my words. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 487. Xiao Qin's first bargaining chip didn't pique the interest of the two beast emperors. In fact, they were furious. The reason was simple. In the eyes of the two beast emperors, Xiao Qin's first bargaining chip wasn't a bargaining chip at all. In fact, it was more like Xiao Qin was using the Tiger Leopard Ridge to deal with the Heavenly Wolf Empire. However, it was clear that Xiao Qin had already expected this. He opened his mouth and said that he had a second bargaining chip. Hearing this, the Tiger Emperor's expression darkened slightly. Your second bargaining chip had better be able to interest me. Otherwise, not only you, but all of you will not have a good ending. The Tiger Emperor clearly didn't have a good impression of Xiao Qin. In response, Xiao Qin didn't seem to mind and spoke with a calm expression. Lord Beast Emperor should know that this junior possesses the power of a bloodline. Right? Lord Beast Emperor, aren't you curious that a human like this junior possesses the power of a bloodline? Xiao Qin spoke slowly. Hearing this, the two beast emperors' eyes flashed with surprise. At the same time, Xiao Qin immediately used the dragon transformation. As soon as he used the dragon transformation, a faint bloodline pressure spread out. However, due to the difference in cultivation realm, Xiao Qin's bloodline pressure didn't have any effect on the two beast emperors. He didn't know what Xiao Qin was trying to do, but soon, the leopard emperor, who had always been a man of few words, suddenly stood up and looked at Xiao Qin in disbelief. The dragon race. The dragon race's pressure? How is this possible? At first, the leopard emperor didn't know what Xiao Qin was trying to do. But now, the leopard emperor sharply sensed a trace of the dragon race's aura from Xiao Qin's bloodline pressure. Moreover, it wasn't a pseudo-dragon, but a genuine dragon race aura. In a world of demonic beasts, the dragon race was definitely an overlord. Any demonic beast could only prostrate themselves in worship when they saw the dragon race. Yet, Xiao Qin, a human, actually possessed the dragon race's bloodline. This made the leopard emperor pale with fright. Along with the leopard emperor's cry of surprise, the emperor father's expression changed slightly. This was indeed too shocking. This was the dragon race. Sensing the leopard emperor's and tiger emperor's shock, Xiao Qin gradually revealed a smile. My second bargaining chip is the dragon race's bloodline. I wonder if Lord Beast Emperors are satisfied? The second bargaining chip was the dragon bloodline. Hearing this, the Tiger Emperor and the Leopard Emperor could not help but feel excited. The strength of a demonic beast depended on the power of its bloodline. The stronger the power of its bloodline, the stronger its strength would be. Although the Tiger King and the Panther King were able to reach the realm of Beast King, it was enough to prove that the power of their bloodline was not weak. However, it was not worth mentioning when compared to the bloodline of the dragon race. The bloodline of the dragon race that Xiao Qin mentioned was undoubtedly a bargaining chip that the two Beast Kings could not refuse. However, the two beast emperors quickly recovered from their shock. Xiao Chun was a human. How could he have the dragon race's bloodline? Xiao Chun was aware of this problem, but he was already prepared for it. At this moment, Xiao Chun slowly retracted his aura and said unhurriedly, "This junior's bloodline power is actually a few drops of essence blood given to me by my second sister when I was cultivating a secret technique. To tell you the truth, my second sister is a true member of the dragon race. Moreover, she's a pure-blooded dragon. This is my second bargaining chip. If Lord Beast Emperors are willing, this junior can ask my second sister to give each of you a drop of dragon race's essence blood." Xiao Qin obviously couldn't give the two Beast Emperors a drop of dragon race's essence blood. After all, Xiao Chun was a human. Even his dragon race's pressure didn't belong to him, so how could he give it to others? However, Xiao Qin's second sister, Long Qing, was a true dragon. She could give the two Beast Emperors a drop of dragon race's essence blood. The dragon race's essence blood was Xiao Qin's real trump card. Moreover, it was a trump card that no monster beast could refuse. However, Long Qing still didn't know that she had been sold by Xiao Chun unknowingly. Although 2 drops of essence blood were nothing to Long Qing, Xiao Chun didn't ask for Long Qing's permission at this moment. He felt a little sorry for Long Qing. Of course, Xiao Chun definitely couldn't take out the dragon race's essence blood now. He could only get it when he met Long Qing in the future. In other words, Xiao Qin's second bargaining chip was actually just a blank check. However, he believed that any monster beast would be willing to gamble on this blank check, because it was the dragon race's essence blood. Once the Tiger Emperor and the Panther Emperor refined the dragon race's essence blood, even if it was just a drop, it would definitely allow their strength to undergo a qualitative leap. After saying that, Xiao Chun calmly looked at the 2 Beast Emperors on the high platform. At this moment, it was the Tiger Emperor and the Panther Emperor's turn to be at a loss. They exchanged glances and asked, "You mean that you can't give us the dragon race's essence blood now?" "That's right. This junior has already said that the dragon race's essence blood in this junior's body was given to me by my second sister. Now that this junior has separated from my second sister, I can only give it to her when I meet her in the future. However, this junior has absolute confidence that he can make my second sister give 2 drops of essence blood to Lord Beast Emperor." Xiao Qin honestly replied. He didn't have it now. He could only wait for the future. Furthermore, there was no specific time limit in the future. Who knew when Xiao Chun would be able to meet Long Qing? After hearing Xiao Qin's reply, the 2 Beast Emperors fell into a dilemma. Firstly, the dragon race's essence blood was too precious. To a demonic beast, it was simply the most precious treasure in the world. However, Xiao Qin didn't have any guarantee. Who knew if he was telling the truth? Therefore, the 2 Beast Emperors didn't want to give up on the precious dragon race's essence blood. On the other hand, they didn't dare to trust Xiao Chun. Seeing that the 2 Beast Emperors had fallen into a dilemma, Xiao Chun timely spoke. "Actually, Lord Beast Emperor doesn't need to worry too much. This junior doesn't dare to deceive you. The princess that the Blood Wolf King spoke of is actually this junior's mother. This junior was forcibly placed under house arrest by the Blood Wolf King this time. This junior risked his life to enter the Heavenly Wolf Empire in order to save my mother. After this matter, this junior's mother will live in the Moonless Empire. If this junior is lying today, Lord Beast Emperor can capture my mother. I believe that with my mother in the Moonless Empire, Lord Beast Emperor should be able to dispel the worries in your heart." The meaning of Xiao Qin's words was very clear. He wanted to use Bai Ryue as a hostage. After all, once Bai Ryue lived in the Moonless Empire, it was equivalent to being under the eyes of the 2 Beast Emperors. If Xiao Qin's words today were false, they could capture Bai Ryue immediately. Using his mother as a guarantee was already enough to show Xiao Qin's sincerity. After looking at each other, the Tiger Emperor nodded slightly. In the end, the Tiger Emperor spoke. "All right, then this imperial ant will believe you. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation." Chapter 488. In the end, the two beast emperors chose to believe in Shao Chun. After some discussion, Shao Chun and the two beast emperors finally reached an agreement. First, Shao Chun had a guarantee that Bai Riyue would not leave the Moonless Empire before the Dragon Clan's blood essence was obtained. Shao Chun naturally had no objections to this. However, Shao Chun also made the two beast emperors promise not to harm Bai Riyue. The two beast emperors also had no objections to this because Bai Riyue was a hostage. To put it bluntly, even if someone wanted to harm Bai Riyue in the future, the two beast emperors would not allow it. At least, before the Dragon Clan's blood essence was obtained, they would definitely not let anything happen to Bai Riyue. In a way, Shao Chun had found two bodyguards for Bai Rui. Moreover, they were two beast emperors. Most importantly, after reaching an agreement, the following matters were much easier to handle. Regarding the danger Shao Chun was facing, the two beast emperors also expressed very straightforwardly that not only would they not send demon beasts to capture them, they would even escort them safely to the Moonless Empire's territory. As a result, the danger before them was completely resolved. However, the two beast emperors did not immediately agree to attack the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Instead, they would wait until the Moonless Empire and the Heavenly Wolf Empire truly started an all-out war before taking action. Clearly, the two beast emperors were also afraid of being used by Shao Chun. Moreover, not only would the Tiger Leopard Ridge not attack the Heavenly Wolf Empire first, once the war broke out, all the soldiers of the Heavenly Wolf Empire, regardless of life or death, would belong to the Tiger Leopard Ridge in the end. The Moonless Empire would obtain the territory and citizens of the Heavenly Wolf Empire. In the end, the two beast emperors also expressed that although they could protect Shao Chun and the others safely to the Moonless Empire, they would not attack the Blood Wolf King. Clearly, the two beast emperors could see Shao Chun's hatred for the Blood Wolf King. They were afraid that Shao Chun would use them to kill the Blood Wolf King, so they made the first move. The main reason why they did not attack the Blood Wolf King was because they did not want to provoke the Heavenly Wolf Empire. After all, the two beast emperors still did not know if Shao Chun could make the Moonless Empire declare war on the Heavenly Wolf Empire. As such, the Tiger Leopard Ridge could not make the first move. Shao Chun didn't care about the conditions proposed by the two beast emperors. The only condition was that the two beast emperors had to rescue Zhang Qi. Zhang Qi was still entangled with the Blood Wolf King, so they had to rescue him. As for the Blood Wolf King, it wouldn't hurt to keep him alive for the time being. After all, when the third prince, Chu Wuming, ascended to the position of the crown prince, Shao Chun had absolute confidence that the Moonless Empire would declare war on the Heavenly Wolf Empire. At that time, he would definitely slaughter the Blood Wolf King's entire clan. When he thought of the Blood Wolf King, the killing intent in Shao Chun's heart intensified. After everything was discussed, the Tiger Emperor personally ordered to investigate Zhang Qi's current whereabouts. In the Tiger Leopard Ridge, it was not difficult for the monsters to find a person. Therefore, they received news very quickly. After knowing that Zhang Qi was still entangled with the Blood Wolf King, Shao Chun and Gu Xiu chose to set off immediately. The Tiger Emperor also accompanied them. This was the condition that both parties had agreed on. They could choose not to attack the Blood Wolf King, but they had to rescue Zhang Qi. The Tiger Emperor also agreed to this. Therefore, he personally set off with Shao Chun and Gu Xiu to rescue Zhang Qi. Unaware that Shao Chun had actually reached an agreement with the two beast emperors, the Blood Wolf King was currently chasing after Zhang Qi with all his might. In fact, the Blood Wolf King's idea was similar to Shao Chun's guess. He wanted to kill Zhang Qi first and then meet the two beast emperors to raise the stakes. He wanted the monsters to capture Shao Chun and the others with all their might. In the Blood Wolf King's opinion, if the two beast emperors really did their best to capture Shao Chun and the others, it could be said that it was a piece of cake. They had been entangled for several days. Just as Shao Chun had expected, Zhang Qi's situation was indeed very bad at this moment. Even though she was a super expert in the Town Master realm, she was on the verge of death after being hunted for such a long time. Catching up to Zhang Qi once again, the Blood Wolf King did not hesitate to directly hit her with his palm. At the same time, he sneered, "Old man, let's see how long you can last, haha." The injuries on her body were extremely serious. Moreover, she had used up all her healing pills. Coupled with the Blood Wolf King's relentless pursuit, Zhang-Chi could be said to be a lamp that had run out of oil. Facing the Blood Wolf King's palm, Zhang-Chi clenched her teeth and fiercely punched out, trying to block the Blood Wolf King's attack. However, the current Zhang-Chi's combat strength was already less than 10%. As the fist and palm collided, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and was instantly sent flying far away. She could not even withstand a casual blow from the Blood Wolf King. Seeing this, the Blood Wolf King was overjoyed. Immediately, he did not stop and immediately rushed forward. Today was the day to kill this old man. After chasing for several days, the old man was finally forced into a desperate situation. With the Blood Wolf King's eyesight, it was not difficult for him to see that Zhang-Chi was no longer able to fight. Today, the Blood Wolf King could definitely kill him. Catching up again, the Blood Wolf King continued to attack ruthlessly. In the face of the Blood Wolf King's attacks, Zhang-Chi could not resist at all. Blood kept spitting out from her mouth. In the end, the Blood Wolf King fiercely punched her in the chest, causing her sternum to collapse, and she fell heavily to the ground. She no longer had the strength to fight. Her body was covered in blood. Facing her impending death, Zhang-Chi looked at the Blood Wolf King, standing in the air with a faint smile on her face, and whispered softly, "Young master should be safe now. If so, I can rest assured." Knowing that she could not escape, Zhang-Chi only hoped that Xiao Chun could safely return to the Moonless Empire. Just as Zhang-Chi's voice fell, the Blood Wolf King in the sky made his move. This was the last move that would definitely end Zhang-Chi's life. Just as the Blood Wolf King was about to end Zhang-Chi's life, an angry roar came from the sky. "Blood Wolf King, how dare you!" The sudden angry roar made the Blood Wolf King's movement suddenly stop. He turned around and saw Xiao Chun, Gu Xiao, and the Tiger Emperor in front of him. Facing the Blood Wolf King, Xiao Chun's eyes were filled with killing intent. However, the Blood Wolf King was overjoyed. He thought that Xiao Chun and Gu Xiao were captured by the Tiger Emperor and sent to him. Overjoyed, the Blood Wolf King bowed to the Tiger Emperor and thanked him. "Thank you, Lord Beast Emperor." The Tiger Emperor had a strange look on his face when he heard the Blood Wolf King thanking him. This guy really misunderstood. He thought that the Tiger Emperor was here to escort Xiao Chun and Gu Xiao. In fact, the Tiger Emperor came here to save Zhang-Chi. Being misunderstood by the Blood Wolf King, the Tiger Emperor could only brace himself and smile. "Ha, I'm afraid that the Blood Wolf King has misunderstood. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendations." Chapter 489. The Tiger Emperor smiled awkwardly at the Blood Wolf King's gratitude. After all, the Tiger Emperor had agreed to the Blood Wolf King's request, but now he was on Xiao Chen's side. Even the thick-skinned Tiger Emperor felt a little embarrassed. As for the Blood Wolf King, after hearing the Tiger Emperor's words, he asked in confusion, "What do you mean, Sir Beast Emperor?" For a moment, the Blood Wolf King could not react. Who would have thought that things would take such a turn? Xiao Chun and the others, who were supposed to be hunting them down, were now under the protection of the Tiger Emperor. No one would have thought of this. Seeing that the Blood Wolf King was still confused, the Tiger Emperor could only speak. I'm here to take him away." As he spoke, the Tiger Emperor reached out and grabbed Zhang-Chi, who was seriously injured and on the verge of death. He then handed her over to Xiao Chun and Gu Xiao. Xiao Chun held Zhang-Chi in his arms and fed him a healing pill. Then, he began to check on Zhang-Chi's injuries. It was very serious. He was barely hanging on to his last breath. However, with the help of the healing elixir, he managed to survive. As long as he recuperated for a period of time, he should be fine. After all, Zhang-Chi was a Dao sovereign, so his vitality was naturally strong. His life was not in danger. After confirming this, Xiao Chen secretly heaved a sigh of relief. While Xiao Chun was checking Zhang Qi's injuries, the Blood Wolf King was completely stunned. What's going on? The Tiger Emperor appeared with Xiao Chun and Gu Xiao. Who came to save that old man? His mind was in a mess. He looked at the Tiger Emperor and did not know what was going on. Why did the Tiger Emperor come personally to save Zhang Qi? This shouldn't be happening. The Tiger Emperor had no intention of explaining and was about to leave with Xiao Chun and the others. Seeing this, the Blood Wolf King did not care about anything else and hurriedly shouted, "Sir Beast Emperor, what do you mean? We have an agreement." Seeing that the Tiger Emperor had not only saved Zhang Qi, but was also taking Xiao Chen away, the Blood Wolf King naturally could not remain calm. Hearing the Blood Wolf King's words, the Tiger Emperor opened his mouth and replied, "Oh, about that, I thought about it. After all, this is Tiger Leopard Ridge. You humans shouldn't settle your matters here. I've decided to send Xiao Chun and the others out of Tiger Leopard Ridge. Once they're out of Tiger Leopard Ridge, you can settle your grudges slowly." Hearing this, the Blood Wolf King was dumbfounded. You humans shouldn't settle your matters in Tiger Leopard Ridge. What does this mean? The Blood Wolf King was a little startled by the sudden change in his father's attitude, but he still asked subconsciously, "Where are you going to send them, Sir Beast King?" "Mount Mang." The Blood Wolf King did not know what the Tiger Emperor meant, but since the Tiger Emperor had said not to settle the grudges between humans and the Tiger Leopard Ridge, the Blood Wolf King naturally did not dare to say anything. He was still wondering if the Tiger Emperor was going to send Xiao Chun and the others to Mount Mang. If that was the case, there was no problem. However, the Tiger Emperor's next sentence made the Blood Wolf King completely crazy. The Tiger Emperor said indifferently, "Oh, I'm going to send them to the Moonless Empire. At that time, you can settle your grudges by yourselves." Moonless Empire? Hearing this, the Blood Wolf King was stunned, but he quickly regained his senses. It was as if there were 10,000 grass mud horses galloping through his heart. Send them to the Moonless Empire? You call this sending them? This was simply protecting the Blood Wolf King. If the Blood Wolf King still didn't understand the Tiger Emperor's meaning, then he was really stupid. Until now, the Blood Wolf King finally understood that Xiao Chun must have reached an agreement with the Tiger Emperor, and the Tiger Emperor had completely betrayed him. He planned to escort Xiao Chun and the others safely to the Moonless Empire. Once Xiao Chun entered the Moonless Empire, how could he settle it? Xiao Chun had a Tao Emperor realm uncle. Once Xiao Chun returned to the Moonless Empire, what could he, the Blood Wolf King, do? Kill his way into the Moonless Empire? What was the difference between that and courting death? Originally, victory was within his grasp, but the Tiger Emperor changed his attitude at the drop of a hat. As for Xiao Chun and the others who were protected by the Tiger Emperor, the Blood Wolf King was unable to do anything. He stood there in a daze. At the same time, before leaving, Xiao Chun turned his head and coldly looked at the Blood Wolf King. He said with overflowing killing intent, "Blood Wolf King, wash your neck and wait for me. One day, I will personally kill my way into the imperial capital of the Skywolf Empire and chop off your dog head." Without waiting for the Blood Wolf King's reply, the group disappeared under the Tiger Emperor's lead. After Xiao Chun and the others left, the Blood Wolf King, who was still standing there in a daze, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He then angrily roared. Why? He could not understand why the Tiger Emperor would switch sides with Xiao Chun. All his efforts were in vain because of the Tiger Emperor's betrayal. He was unwilling, but what could he do? With the Tiger Emperor's protection, what else could the Blood Wolf King do? Go and fight with the Tiger Emperor? That was obviously impossible, unless the Blood Wolf King did not want to live anymore. Xiao Chun did not care about what happened to the Blood Wolf King. Under the leadership of the Tiger Emperor, Xiao Chun and the others soon met up with Bairuyue and the others. Less than 20 warriors from the Heavenly Wolf continent gathered together. These were the people who had successfully escaped from the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Seeing Xiao Chun and the others appear, everyone was shocked when they looked at the Tiger Emperor. After all, the Tiger Emperor was a beast emperor. But after Xiao Chun told everyone about the matter, everyone was completely relieved. They did not expect that Shao Chun could actually convince the Tiger Leopard Ridge's Beast Emperor. With the Beast Emperor personally protecting them, everyone naturally had nothing to worry about. They set off again and did not encounter any danger along the way. However, the Blood Wolf King did not give up and continued to follow them from afar. Does this guy still want to attack us? Gu Xiu turned his head to look at the Blood Wolf King who was following them from afar and said in a bad mood. Hearing Gu Xiu's words, Shao Chun sneered and replied, "No matter, let him follow. I hope that he dares to enter the Moonless Empire. At that time, I will make him beg for death." After speaking, Shao Chun turned his head to look at the Blood Wolf King and shouted, "Blood Wolf King, remember, wash your neck and wait. There will be a day when this young master will personally kill his way into the imperial capital of the Skywolf Empire and chop off your dog head." Hearing Shao Chun's words, the Blood Wolf King's anger was unimaginable. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost shattered. He wanted to directly kill Shao Chun, but his rationality kept telling him not to because the one beside Shao Chun was the Tiger Emperor. Once he made a move, the Blood Wolf King's fate was obvious. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 490. He was furious, but there was nothing he could do. With the Tiger Emperor personally escorting them, the Blood Wolf King had no chance at all. He could only watch as Shao Chun and the others entered the Moonless Empire. The Blood Wolf King was unwilling to give up. He had never thought that the Tiger Emperor would betray him at the last minute, causing all his efforts to go down the drain. After arriving at the border of the Moonless Empire, the Blood Wolf King obviously did not dare to continue forward. Once he entered the Moonless Empire, the outcome would be obvious. He would probably be chased by Shao Chun. Therefore, even though he was extremely unwilling, in the end, after seeing Shao Chun and the others arrive at the border of the Moonless Empire, the Blood Wolf King could only turn around and leave resentfully. Looking at the Blood Wolf King leaving from afar, a strong killing intent flashed in Shao Chun's eyes. If the Blood Wolf King had really dared to take a step into the Moonless Empire, Shao Chun would have asked Zhang Qi to hold him back. Unfortunately, the Blood Wolf King was not blinded by anger. He knew the consequences of entering the Moonless Empire, so he did not dare to take half a step into the Moonless Empire. With the Blood Wolf King's departure, Shao Chun and the others were finally safe. They could enter the Moonless Empire after moving at most 5 miles forward. Looking at Shao Chun, the Tiger Emperor said faintly, "Human boy, this is one of my subordinates. He's a Beast Revered Realm expert, which is equivalent to a Dao Master Realm expert. His name is Hu Yao. This time, I'll let him follow you into the Moonless Empire to protect your mother. You don't have to worry about anything." Before leaving, the Tiger Emperor sent one of his Beast Revered Realm experts to follow them back to the Moonless Empire. It was said to protect by Ruyue, but in fact, it was more important to monitor her. With Hu Yao around, Bai Ruyue's whereabouts could be known by the Tiger Emperor at any time. There is no need to worry that Bai Ruyue would secretly leave the Moonless Empire. Hearing Hu Huang's words, Shao Chun glanced at Hu Yao, who was standing beside the Tiger Emperor. Perhaps because he was afraid that Shao Chun would be conflicted, the Tiger Emperor specially sent a female demonic beast to monitor Bai Ruyue. At first glance, Hu Yao looked like a middle-aged village woman. Her appearance was definitely considered rough among women. Moreover, her sturdy muscles made her look even more ferocious than some men. He didn't reject the Tiger Emperor's arrangement. Although he knew that Hu Yao was mainly here to keep an eye on his mother, from another perspective, with Hu Yao around, his mother's safety would also be guaranteed. In addition, Shao Chun did not plan to let Bai Ruyue leave the Moonless Empire. Therefore, with Hu Yao by his side, there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Therefore, Shao Chun had no reason to refuse. After bowing to the Tiger Emperor, Shao Chun expressed his gratitude. Since that's the case, this junior thanks Lord Beast Emperor. Seeing that Shao Chun agreed without much hesitation, a smile appeared on the Tiger Emperor's face. He then said to Hu Yao, "Go. Remember, you must protect Madame Bai's safety." "Yes." Hearing this, Hu Yao respectfully nodded and then strode to Bai Riyue's side. With Hu Yao following Bai Riyue, the Tiger Emperor could be at ease. Afterward, the group bid farewell to the Tiger Emperor and rushed back to the Moonless Empire. The distance of 5 miles was covered in the blink of an eye. After successfully returning to the Moonless Empire, Xiao Chun and the others finally let out a sigh of relief. Let's go back to Jinshan City first. This place was already within the Moonless Empire, and it wasn't far from Jinshan City. Therefore, Xiao Chun immediately led the group to Jinshan City. In just a short hour, the group safely returned to Jinshan City. Just as they were done, Zhao Feng received the news and immediately notified the third prince, Chu Wuming, and the Burning Sky ruler. Soon, the two hurried to the city gate and finally saw Xiao Chun and the others. Because there had been no news of Xiao Chun and the others, the Burning Sky ruler had been staying in town. As the retired emperor of the Moonless Empire, naturally, no one could order the Burning Sky ruler to do anything. Now that Xiao Chun and the others had finally returned safely and successfully rescued by Ryu, the Burning Sky ruler finally let out a sigh of relief. "It's good that you're back." It was indeed a good thing that Xiao Chun and the others had returned safely. Afterward, Xiao Chun arranged for everyone to return to the courtyard where he had lived before to rest. As for himself, he chatted with the third Prince Chu Wuming for a while. Chu Wuming was also very concerned about Xiao Chun's safety. After the two chatted for a while, Chu Wuming also consciously chose to leave. After all, Xiao Chun must be very tired and urgently needed to rest. After sending off Chu Wuming, the other Heavenly Chun continent cultivators had also settled down. However, Xiao Chun didn't rest because there was still one person who needed to be rescued: Mu Feng. Mu Feng wasn't in the imperial family of the Heavenly Wolf Empire, but in Hulao Pass. Now that he had successfully rescued his mother, he naturally had to rescue Mu Feng. In the study, Xiao Chun and the Burning Sky ruler sat opposite each other. He told the Burning Sky ruler about Mu Feng. Hearing this, the Burning Sky ruler nodded indifferently. As a Tao Emperor Realm Almighty, it might be difficult for the Burning Sky ruler to destroy an army of hundreds of thousands of people. However, it was too easy for him to sneak in and rescue one person. Without hesitation, the Burning Sky ruler secretly left Jinshan City that night and successfully found Mu Feng in the Heavenly Wolf Empire's army. In just a short 4 hours, the Burning Sky ruler rescued Mu Feng. In Jinshan City, Xiao Chun saw Mu Feng, and only then did he completely let out a sigh of relief. He could finally be at ease. Xiao Chun also felt exhausted. After all, he had been surrounded by danger along the way. At this moment, Xiao Chun only wanted to have a good sleep. He slept for 3 days in a row. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this sleep was the best sleep Xiao Chun had ever had. After slowly waking up, he washed up and changed into a set of clean clothes. First, Xiao Chun went to check on his mother, Bai Riyue. The mother and son chatted for the entire morning. Only at noon did Xiao Chun get up and leave. In Jinshan City, Xiao Chun didn't have to worry about Bai Riyue's safety. Thus, he could proceed with the next step. After successfully rescuing Bai Riyue, Xiao Chun had a general plan for what to do next. First, he had to help Chu Wuming successfully obtain the position of Crown Prince. Next, he had to destroy the Heavenly Wolf Empire. Only then could Xiao Chun participate in the sacred sect selection with peace of mind and enter the windless sacred sect to cultivate. I wonder when Gu Xiu will send someone to find me. Thinking of the agreement with Gu Xiu and the celestial equal sects helped played a huge role in successfully rescuing his mother. At the same time, Gu Xiu had said that after Xiao Chun escaped danger, he would naturally send someone to the windless Moon Empire to find him, begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 491. From a very beginning, Xiao Chun had treated the Moonless Empire as his base. Therefore, he had to ensure that the Moonless Empire had a relatively safe environment. In addition, he had already found his mother, by Ru Yue, and it was obvious that she would be living in the Moonless Empire in the future. Therefore, the person in charge of the Moonless Empire must be someone he could trust. Naturally, this person was none other than the third prince, Chu Wuming. Now that he had successfully subdued the Mountain Suppression Army, Xiao Chun had originally planned to slowly subdue the other three armies. But now, it seemed that there was not enough time. He had to settle the matter of the Moonless Empire before the sage sect selection began. After finding the Burning Sky ruler, Xiao Chun secretly talked with him for several hours. Then, the Burning Sky ruler left Jinshan City and returned to the imperial capital. As a Dao emperor, the Burning Sky ruler was naturally more suitable to guard the imperial capital. However, when the Burning Sky ruler left, Xiao Chun also asked him to order Si Kongming to secretly come to Jinshan City. Next, Xiao Chun had to finish the battle quickly and subdue the other three armies as soon as possible. In this way, he naturally had to have enough strength in his hands. Si Kongming arrived at Jinshan City. Together with Zhang Qi and Hu Yao, Xiao Chun had 3 Dao masters in front of him. That was enough. After settling the matter with the Burning Sky ruler, Xiao Chun immediately came to Chu Wuming's residence. Chu Wuming was also quite worried about his trip to the Celestial Wolf Empire. Now that he saw Xiao Chun coming, Chu Wuming personally welcomed him. "Your Highness," Xiao Chun greeted after bowing to Chu Wuming. "Brother Xiao Chun, how are you? Are you all right?" Facing Xiao Chun, Chu Wuming asked with concern. "Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Xiao Chun is fine. I came here to discuss the matter of Hulao Pass with Your Highness," Xiao Chun said. He did not have much time left. Xiao Chun also planned to let Chu Wuming ascend to the position of Crown Prince as soon as possible and completely control the real power of the Moonless Empire. If he wanted Chu Wuming to control the real power, the minimum condition was to subdue the 4 armies in Hulao Pass. Only then would Chu Wuming have enough strength to fight for the position of Crown Prince. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chu Wuming was slightly stunned, but he quickly recovered. He invited Xiao Chun into the study, and the two sat opposite of each other. Xiao Chun told Chu Wuming his thoughts. According to Xiao Chen's plan, the only way to deal with the remaining 3 legions in Hulao Pass was to make use of Chu Wuming's banquet as an excuse to invite all the commanders of the 3 legions to Jinshan City. Then, he would force them to submit to him. If they didn't submit, he would kill them immediately and let someone else take over. Xiao Chen's plan could be said to be simple and crude. The main reason was that there was not enough time. If there was enough time, Xiao Chun would naturally be willing to slowly subdue the 3 armies without anyone noticing. It would be safer this way. Unfortunately, there was not enough time. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chu Wuming sank into silence. Xiao Chen's plan was already an undisguised mutiny. After being silent for a while, Chu Wuming finally said slowly, "Brother Xiao Chun, is there a need to be so anxious?" It could be seen that Xiao Chun was very anxious to subdue the 3 armies. Facing Chu Wuming's doubts, Xiao Chun said calmly, "Your Highness, I don't have time. Your Highness should know about the sage sect selection, right? Tianfeng Shengzong selection? Brother Xiao, are you going to participate?" As a prince, Chu Wuming naturally heard of the windless sage sect selection. At this time, when Xiao Chun mentioned it, Chu Wuming guessed it. Xiao Chun nodded slightly. Because he was going to participate in the sage sect selection, he had to deal with the matters of the Wuyue Empire before he left. He also truthfully told Chu Wuming about Bai Rui's matter. Xiao Chun once said that he didn't have any thoughts about the Wuyue Empire. He only needed Chu Wuming to be in charge because only then could he ensure the safety of his mother and the many warriors of the Tianshan continent in the future. After knowing the reason why Xiao Chun was so anxious to subdue the 3 armies, Chu Wuming shook his head and said in the end, "Brother Xiao, your plan is indeed good. However, there's one thing that won't work. Father has an elite army in his hands called the Blood Moon Guards. With this army, our plan won't work." Xiao Chun's plan was good. This way, they could indeed subdue the 3 armies in an extremely short period of time. However, this way, the imperial capital would definitely receive the news. He knew that Xiao Chun wanted to use the 4 armies in Hulao Pass to force Chu Mu to take a step back. However, as long as he had the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Mu wouldn't be afraid of the threat of the 4 armies. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Xiao Chun was slightly stunned. Blood Moon Guards, wasn't this the same as the Sky Wolf Guards of the Sky Wolf Empire, the Emperor's private army? Xiao Chun had personally experienced the terror of the Sky Wolf Guards. Although there weren't many of them, every one of them could be said to be strong. Such an army's combat power was definitely not inferior to a 1,000,000-strong army. Previously, he guessed that the Wuyue Empire definitely had an army that wasn't inferior to the Sky Wolf Guards. Indeed, it was. Chu Wuming was right. If it didn't deal with the Blood Moon Guards, then even if Chu Wuming controlled the 4 armies in Hulao Pass, he wouldn't be able to force Chu Mu to take a step back. After a moment of silence, Xiao Chun looked at Chu Wuming and asked, "Your Highness, do you think we can subdue the Blood Moon Guards?" Impossible. The Blood Moon Guards only listen to Father's orders. They are loyal and devoted to Father. It is impossible to subdue them. Subduing the Blood Moon Guards? Forget about it. It was simply impossible. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, a cold glint flashed across Xiao Chen's eyes as he said, "Then kill them." The Blood Moon Guards were the biggest obstacle for Chu Wuming to seize power. Since they couldn't be subdued, then they could only be killed. Hearing that Xiao Chun actually wanted to eliminate the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Wuming was first stunned. However, he quickly recovered and said to Xiao Chun with a bitter smile, "Brother Xiao, you want me to force Father into a corner?" Chu Wuming was very clear about the importance of the Blood Moon Guards to Father Chu Wuming. Once the Blood Moon Guards were gone, Chu Wuming wouldn't be able to become the crown prince. He could even force Chu Mu to give up his position. Seeing Chu Wuming's bitter smile, Xiao Chun said calmly, "Your Highness, ask yourself honestly. Do you think His Majesty already has an answer to who the crown prince position belongs to?" Xiao Chun suddenly asked. Hearing this, Chu Wuming quickly understood Xiao Chen's meaning. The smile on his face became even more bitter. "I don't think so. However, it should be between Big Brother and Second Brother. Father has doted on Big Brother and his second brother since young. Chu Mu probably hadn't determined who the crown prince position belonged to. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed the princes to fight for the crown prince position. However, the reason why he couldn't make a decision until now was because Chu Mu didn't know who was more suitable between Chu Wuk and Chu Wuxuan. As for Chu Wuming, Chu Mu probably never wanted him to be the crown prince. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 492. He knew that Chu Mu never wanted him to become the crown prince. After all, Chu Mu doted on Chu Wuk and Chu Wuxuan more since young. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Xiao Chun continued to ask, "Then is your Highness willing to give up the crown prince's position?" Could Chu Wuming give up the crown prince's position? Obviously not. Otherwise, Chu Wuming wouldn't have persisted until now. He would have left long before meeting Xiao Chun. Chu Wuming was a very ambitious person. He had a great yearning for the empire's throne. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to contend with his 2 elder brothers without anyone's support. Since he wasn't willing and didn't have Chu Mu's support, Chu Wuming could only use other methods if he wanted to seize power and defeat his 2 elder brothers. Chu Wuming stared at Xiao Chun. Facing this question, he didn't answer because there was no need to. He couldn't give up the crown prince's position. This was the helplessness of being in a royal family. In the face of supreme power, family ties became extremely thin. However, this wasn't a problem that Xiao Chun needed to consider. Chu Wuming wanted the crown prince's position and power. Xiao Chun also hoped that Chu Wuming could control the Moonless Empire. Therefore, the 2 of them had the same goal. Unlike Chu Wuming, Xiao Chun wanted Chu Wuming to control the Moonless Empire for no other reason. It was because Chu Wuming was someone he could trust. With him controlling the Moonless Empire, this place could become a safe place for the Heavenly Chun Continent warriors. Tens of thousands of Heavenly Chun Continent warriors came to the Heavenly River Continent. Everyone was like rootless duckweed in this unfamiliar place. This moonless empire could become a safe haven for many Heavenly Chun continent warriors in the future. Those injured or weak Heavenly Chun continent warriors could go to the moonless empire to recuperate. In addition to his parents, this was the reason why Shao Chun had to let Chu Wuming take power. Taking a deep breath, Chu Wuming suddenly stood up and bowed to Shao Chun. Then, I'll leave everything to Brother Shao. Chu Wuming's words clearly agreed with Shao Chun's idea. For the ambition in his heart, Chu Wuming chose to believe in Shao Chun. Hearing this, Shao Chun smiled and said, "Your Highness is too serious. I only hope that your Highness can treat my friends and family well in the future." He had already told Chu Wuming that he would not stay in the Moonless Empire for too long. However, Shao Chun's friends and family would stay in the Moonless Empire. In this regard, Chu Wuming needed to ensure their safety. Chu Wuming naturally would not refuse Shao Chun's request. After all, Shao Chun had no desire for power. For Chu Wuming, this was the best result. After reaching an agreement with Chu Wuming, the two of them finally decided that 7 days later, Chu Wuming would use his own name to invite the other 3 legions to Jinshan City for a banquet. At that time, he would take the opportunity to take them down in one fell swoop. At the same time, after taking down the 3 legions, Chu Wuming purposely let out news that Chu Mu would send the Blood Moon Guards. At that time, Shao Chun would take the opportunity to eliminate the Blood Moon Guards in Hulao Pass. In this way, Chu Wuming could point his sword at the imperial capital and confirm the ownership of the Crown Prince's position. After settling the matter, Shao Chun bid farewell to Chu Wuming and returned to his residence. Everything had been arranged. In the end, whether Chu Wuming would take the Crown Prince's position or force Chu Mu to abdicate the throne was not something that Shao Chun should think about. In any case, this was the imperial family's matter. What Shao Chun needed was a safe environment that could give the people of the Heavenly Chun continent a temporary safe haven. In the next few days, Shao Chun and Chu Wuming began to prepare for the banquet 7 days later. Of course, all the errands were naturally left to Shao Chun to Mu Feng and the others. 3 days passed in a row. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. On the day of the banquet, Shao Chun and Chu Wuming would take down the other 3 legions. On this night, Shao Chun sat cross-legged on a praying mat in his room to cultivate. A breeze blew past, and Shao Chun suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, in front of Shao Chun, an old man and a young girl in a short green skirt appeared. These 2 people were not unfamiliar to Shao Chun. The young girl in the short green skirt was the little princess of the Heavenly Chi sect, Gu Lingyao. He did not expect Gu Lingyao to come so quickly. He had only returned to the Moonless Empire for a few days, and she had already found him. "I didn't think that you would be able to escape from the Heavenly Wolf Empire." Looking at Shao Chun, Gu Lingyao said with a mischievous smile, "What? You really hope that I won't be able to escape?" Hearing this, Shao Chun replied. Then, he slowly got up and beckoned the 2 to sit down. Shao Chun did not expect Gu Lingyao's late-night visit. At the same time, from Gu Lingyao, Shao Chun also knew that during this period of time, Gu Qi had struck out like lightning and instantly destroyed the strength of the first and second elders of the Heavenly Qi sect, killing them at the same time. The old man following behind Gu Lingyao was indeed the 3rd elder of the Heavenly Qi sect. Shao Chun had seen him before. His name was Tian Guochuan. However, Tian Guochuan had already become the 1st elder of the Heavenly Qi sect. The purpose of Gu Lingyao's visit was naturally to bring Shao Chun to the Heavenly Qi sect to prepare for the Glory sect selection. However, regarding this, Shao Chun told Gu Lingyao that they still needed some time. After all, the matters of the Moonless Empire had yet to be resolved. "We still have to wait for some time. The Glory sect selection is about to begin. For this reason, Father has already decided to specially open up the 100 Refinements Valley for us to enter the trial." Upon hearing Shao Chun's words, Gu Lingyao said with some dissatisfaction. She knew that Gu Lingyao wanted Shao Chun to head to the Heavenly Qi sect as soon as possible to prepare for the Glory sect selection. However, Shao Chun could not do anything about it. if the matters of the Moonless Empire were not resolved. No, wait, the matters of the Moonless Empire. All of a sudden, he thought that with the help of the Heavenly Chi sect, wouldn't the matters of the Moonless Empire be resolved much more easily? Just think about it. If Chu Wuming could obtain the support of the Heavenly Chi sect, wouldn't the position of Crown Prince be easily obtained? At this thought, Xiao Qian's face gradually bloomed into a smile. He looked at Gu Lingyao and smiled. Actually, it's not that we can't speed things up. However, I need the help of the Heavenly Chi sect. Seeing Xiao Qian smile, how could the mischievous Gu Lingyao not know that Xiao Qian must have some wicked ideas? Or rather, he was going to borrow the power of the Heavenly Chi sect again. A look of dissatisfaction flashed across his eyes. You're going to use our Heavenly Chi sect again? Why do I feel that ever since I met you, our Heavenly Chi sect has been used as a tool by you? Gu Lingyao said in annoyance. Upon hearing that, Xiao Qian said with a helpless look, I have no choice. My mother is now in the Moonless Empire. If I don't resolve the matters here, how can I prepare for the Glory sect selection wholeheartedly? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 493. Xiao Qian said helplessly. Seeing this, Gu Lingyao was secretly unhappy, but there was nothing she could do. After all, the Tianqi sect needed Xiao Qian. Gu Lingyao glared fiercely at Xiao Qian and said snappily, Say it. What do you need our help with? Haha, I knew that Miss Lingyao is considerate and warm-hearted. You will definitely help. Xiao Qian smiled when he heard Gu Lingyao's words. Facing Xiao Qian's smile, Gu Lingyao said without any good expression, Say it quickly. What do you want us to help you with? Gu Lingyao only wanted Xiao Qian to go to the Tianqi sect as soon as possible. After hearing Gu Lingyao's words, Xiao Qian did not beat around the bush and directly told Gu Lingyao his plan. In fact, Xiao Qian suddenly thought of asking the Tianqi sect for help. Of course, it was also thanks to Gu Lingyao's appearance at this time. However, it had to be said that Gu Lingyao came at the right time. With the help of the Tianqi sect, the matter of the Wiyue Empire would be easier to handle. It was not difficult for Xiao Qian to ask the Tianqi sect for help. It was nothing more than for the Tianqi sect to express their support for the third prince, Chu Wuming, to become the crown prince. At the same time, he also hoped that the Tianqi sect could send experts to help when annihilating the Blood Moon Guards. After all, the strength of the Blood Moon Guards could not be underestimated. Even if Xiao Qian and Chu Wuming were able to annihilate them, they would suffer heavy losses. Originally, Xiao Qian had already accepted the price of annihilating the Blood Moon Guards. However, now that Gu Lingyao was here, there was no need for that. It was obviously not difficult for the Tianqi sect to annihilate a Blood Moon Guard. Secondly, Xiao Qian also hoped that the Tianqi sect could help block the Qingyang sect when the Wuyue Empire attacked the Tianlang Empire. After all, no one knew if the Qingyang sect would intervene. Just these two requests. How is it? Very simple, right? Xiao Qian looked at Gu Lingyao. Very simple? Hearing Xiao Qian's words, Gu Lingyao wanted to tear this guy apart. How is this simple? Neither of the two requests made by Xiao Qian were simple. Seeing that Gu Lingyao was glaring at him with anger, Xiao Qian waved his hand and said, There's no other way. I have to finish these things before I leave. If the Tianqi sect isn't willing to help, then I can only go to the Tianqi sect after I'm done. You. Fine. I will inform father and let him make the decision. Xiao Qian's words were full of threats. In response, Gu Lingyao was furious, but he still suppressed the anger in his heart and said coldly. Gu Lingyao couldn't make the decision on this matter and could only report it to Gu Lingyao. Hearing Gu Lingyao's words, Xiao Qian naturally had no objections. Then, Gu Lingyao left with Tian Guichuan. After leaving Xiao Qian's courtyard, Gu Lingyao said coldly with an angry face, Xiao Qian, you'd better not fall into my hands. How dare you threaten me? Gu Lingyao, who had always been mischievous, suffered a great loss at Xiao Qian's hands today and couldn't do anything to Xiao Qian. After telling the truth about Xiao Qian to Gu Qi, who was in the Tianqi sect, Gu Qi replied a day later and agreed to Xiao Chen's request. Moreover, he had already sent 3 elders to Jinshan City. They were expected to arrive within 3 days. Gucci agreed to Xiao Chen's request and even sent 3 elders. After all, the Tianqi sect was one of the 2 great sects in Danyang County. Those who could become elders were at least at the Tao Emperor realm. Of course, there weren't many elders in the Tianqi sect. There were only 10 of them. They sent 3 elders to help at once. In this way, including Tian Guichuan, who was by Gu Lingyao's side, the Tianqi sect sent a total of 4 elders. With these 4 people, it wouldn't be difficult for Xiao Chen to destroy the Blood Moon Guards. He immediately told Xiao Chen the news. After receiving the news, Xiao Chen was overjoyed. 4 Tao Emperors. This way, things would be much simpler. Xiao Chen's confidence increased greatly after obtaining the support of the Tianqi sect. He then patiently waited for the day of the banquet to arrive. Time passed day by day. Soon, it was the day that Chu Wuming invited the 4 great armies to the banquet. On this day, besides Zhao Feng, who was already in Jinshan City, the other 3 generals of the armies also arrived in Jinshan City one after another. The Moonless Empire had a total of 4 great armies guarding Hulao Pass. Apart from a Jinshan army that had already submitted to Chu Wuming, there were also the Wei Yuan Army, White Flame Army, and Iron Armor Army. On this day, the generals of the 3 great armies all arrived in Jinshan City. Moreover, because it was Chu Wuming's banquet, they only brought personal guards, and the number of people did not exceed 100. Time quickly came to the evening. In the Jinshan City General's estate, this place had become the banquet venue for Chu Wuming today. In the enormous main hall, Chu Wuming sat on the main seat, while Xiao Chen sat beside him. Being able to sit on the same level as Chu Wuming showed that Xiao Chen's status was extremely high. Apart from Zhao Feng, the generals of the other 3 great armies were secretly unhappy about this, but they did not say anything. After all, Xiao Chen was the nephew of the sky-burning retired emperor. This was not a secret in the Moonless Empire. At the beginning of the banquet, the atmosphere was very lively. Chu Wuming also gradually toasted Zhao Feng and the other 3. Everyone chatted as they drank. There were not many people attending the banquet this time. It could even be said that there were very few people. In the entire main hall, there were only Zhao Feng and the other 3 generals, Xiao Chen and Chu Wuming. After drinking to their heart's content, they felt that it was about time. At this time, Xiao Chen and Chu Wuming looked at each other. Then, Chu Wuming slowly stood up. Following Chu Wuming's action, Zhao Feng and the other 3 generals all quieted down. Of course, Zhao Feng knew the true purpose of this banquet, so he did not find it strange at all about what Chu Wuming was going to do next. However, the other 3 generals were somewhat puzzled. They did not understand what Chu Wuming was going to do. Slowly walking to the center of the main hall, Chu Wuming looked at the other 3 generals aside from Zhao Feng and spoke with a gentle smile on his face. 3 generals, this prince has had a question in his heart recently. Since all 3 of you are here today, this prince would like to ask for some advice from the 3 generals. Chu Wuming's words confused the 3 generals. They did not know what he meant, but the 3 generals still respectfully replied, "Your Highness is overpraising us. We are only vulgar people. What qualifications do we have to advise your Highness?" The 3 generals are too modest. In truth, the question in this prince's heart is very simple. The 3 generals will definitely be able to answer this prince's question. Hearing this, Chu Wuming laughed loudly. After laughing, Chu Wuming paused for a moment, then said unhurriedly, "The 3 generals should all know about the battle for the position of Crown Prince. Who do you think the position of Crown Prince should belong to in the end? Begging for your collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 494. Who do the 3 generals think the position of Crown Prince should belong to in the end? Following Chu Wuming's words, the faces of the 3 generals immediately changed. Although they were generals and didn't have the petty thoughts of those civil officials, it didn't mean they were stupid. At this time, Chu Wuming had asked such a question. His meaning was very clear. He wanted the three generals to pick a side. The battle for the crown prince could be said to have caused an uproar in the Moonless Empire. Almost all of the civil and military officials knew about it. At the same time, the three princes were wantonly trying to rope in the nobles of the empire. However, until now, the generals who held military power had never been roped in by the princes because Chu Mu didn't allow it. Today, Chu Wuming wanted the three generals to pick a side so openly. What was he trying to do? Was he not afraid of touching Chu Mu's bottom line? Looking at Chu Wuming with eyes full of suspicion, the three generals had a myriad of thoughts in their hearts. Facing the gazes of the three, Chu Wuming faintly smiled and continued. What? Is this question very hard to answer? Chu Wuming was no longer roping them in, but undisguised coercion. He was forcing the three generals to pick a side. Facing Chu Wuming's coercion, the three generals looked at each other. Soon after, the Wei Yuan army gradually stood up and looked at Chu Wuming, speaking in an unfriendly tone. Your Highness the Third Prince, this general has no intention of offending you. However, if I may be so bold as to ask your Highness, are your Highness not afraid of violating His Majesty's taboo by doing this? Although the battle for the crown prince is incomparably fierce, even His Highness the First and Second Prince have never dared to have any thoughts of roping us in. I believe your Highness the Third Prince knows the reason. Today, your Highness is forcing us to pick a side. May I ask if your Highness isn't afraid of violating heaven's might? The meaning of Wei Yuan Army's commander's words was very clear. Although Chu Wuming and the other two princes have been fighting to the death for the position of crown prince, the three of them had never taken a step into some uncrossable minefields, the most crucial of which was military power. Chu Mu could turn a blind eye to the nobles that didn't have any military power. However, if the three princes dared to recruit generals like Zhao Feng and company, Chu Mu would definitely be enraged because this was his bottom line. Everyone knew that this was a minefield that could not be crossed. However, recently, Chu Wuming had boldly crossed it. Moreover, he was so brazen. This made the three generals of the Wei Yuan army feel shocked. At the same time, they also felt that Chu Wuming was too outrageous. Facing the questioning of the Wei Yuan army's commander, Chu Wuming still had a smile on his face. At the same time, Xiao Chun, who had been drinking by himself, put down the cup in his hand and slowly stood up. Generals, I'm afraid you've misunderstood His Highness' intentions. The Crown Prince is the foundation of the empire. Now that the position of Crown Prince has not been decided for a long time, it has caused the people to panic. This is not beneficial to the empire's long-term stability. As a prince, how can His Highness stand by and do nothing? Thus, he hopes that the three generals can help. Xiao Chun spoke slowly. Hearing this, the commander of the Wei Yuan army looked coldly at Xiao Chun and shouted angrily. Xiao Chun, this is a matter of the imperial family. What right do you have to interfere? We are only loyal to His Majesty and will not participate in the battle for the position of Crown Prince. Xiao Chen's interruption angered the commander of the Wei Yuan army. It had to be said that the commander of the Wei Yuan army was very loyal to Chu Mu. Facing the commander of the Wei Yuan army's angry shout, Xiao Chun did not get angry. He glanced at him indifferently, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. The Wei Yuan army, the White Flame army, and the Iron Armor army. These three armies were all Dao sovereigns. If they could all submit to Chu Wuming, it would definitely be a good thing. However, it seemed that it was impossible now. The commander of the Wei Yuan army alone had no hope. From a series of actions of the commander of the Wei Yuan army, Xiao Chun could already confirm that he was loyal to Chu Mu. He was the kind of person who would not betray Chu Mu even if he died. Obviously, it was impossible to count on such a person to submit to Chu Mu. This was because everyone present knew very well why Chu Wuming wanted a rope in the four armies of Hulao Pass. It was undoubtedly because he wanted to take control of the army and force Chu Mu to make a decision. Just think about it. How could Chu Mu not give the position of crown prince to a prince who controlled millions of soldiers? No matter how much Chu Mu liked Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang, he absolutely had no choice. This was because once he angered Chu Wuming, the consequences would be unimaginable. In fact, if Chu Wuming's ambition was even a little bigger, Chu Mu's position. They all knew this very well, which was why the Wei Yuan army gradually became so agitated. After scolding Xiao Chun angrily, the Wei Yuan army gradually looked at Chu Wuming and then at Zhao Feng and the other two. When he saw Zhao Feng, he found that he had a calm expression. The commander of the Wei Yuan army was stunned at first, but he soon guessed something and shouted angrily, "Zhao Feng, have you already?" "Yes, I've already submitted to His Highness the Third Prince. The Moonless Empire can only become stronger in His Highness' hands. How can I, Zhao Feng, not be loyal to such a wise ruler?" The Wei Yuan army's commander guessed that Zhao Feng had already submitted to Chu Wuming. After all, Chu Wuming had always been living in Jinshan City. Zhao Feng didn't hide this at all and frankly admitted it. Hearing Zhao Feng's words, killing intent appeared in the eyes of the Wei Yuan army's commander. Zhao Feng had submitted to Chu Wuming and even called Chu Wuming a wise ruler. In the ears of the Wei Yuan army's commander, these words were like the bluntness of a rebellion. "Zhao Feng, are you trying to rebel? I'll kill you," the commander shouted angrily. But at this moment, Xiao Chun shook his head regretfully and said softly, "What a pity." Xiao Chun seemed to be talking to himself, but as soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura descended from the sky. Then, Tian Guochuan's figure appeared in front of the Wei Yuan army's commander without any warning. He stretched out his palm casually and easily grabbed the commander's neck. Dao Emperor Realm. The Wei Yuan army's commander's expression changed drastically in the face of Tian Guofeng's sudden appearance. At the same time, an extreme aura of death had already enveloped him. Without any hesitation or surprise, Tian Guofeng directly killed the general of Wei Yuan army. Tian Guofeng's appearance was undoubtedly beyond the expectations of the three commanders. Seeing the death of the Wei Yuan army's commander, the expressions of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army changed drastically. At the same time, Xiao Chun spoke again indifferently. "His Highness the Third Prince's request today is very simple. There are two paths in front of the two of you. Either you submit and become a marquis in the future, or you die, just like the Wei Yuan army's commander. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 495. Faced with Xiao Chen's indifferent words, the general of the White Flame Army and the general of the Iron Armor Army looked at the corpse of the general of the Wei Yuan army in astonishment. Then, they looked at each other and saw disbelief in each other's eyes. Who would have thought that the third prince, Chu Wuming, would be so daring? Not only did he want to gather the four great armies outside Hulao Pass, he even dared to kill the generals of the four great armies. This was no longer a battle for the position of crown prince. To put it more seriously, it was no different from a rebellion. The two generals did not know what Chu Wuming wanted to do. However, they had no other choice in front of them. Xiao Chen's words were very clear. Tonight, they would either submit or die. The general of the Wei Yuan army already had foresight. Moreover, Chu Wuming also clearly told the two generals that he dared to kill. After a moment of silence, the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army gradually knelt in front of Chu Wuming and shouted in a deep voice, "We greet your highness. We are willing to go through water and tread on fire for your highness." They did not want to die. At the same time, although the two generals of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army were loyal to the imperial family, they were not loyal to Emperor Chu Mu. Therefore, the two of them chose to submit in the end. Of course, it was still unknown whether their submission was trustworthy. However, Xiao Chun wanted the two of them to make a choice tonight. With the two of them kneeling, the rest of the matter would be easily resolved. Personally helping the two main generals up, Chu Wuming laughed loudly and said, "Haha, to be able to obtain the help of the two generals, there's no need for this prince to worry about not being able to succeed. Generals, please rise." Chu Wuming's smile was very bright. After personally helping the two main generals up, Chu Wuming shouted loudly, "Men, clean up this place." He ordered people to carry the corpse of the general of the Wei Yuan army away. Very quickly, several soldiers from the Battle Dragon camp cleaned up the hall. At the same time, Tian Guichuan also left, and the banquet continued. Although the banquet continued, the two commanders of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army were clearly a little uneasy because of what had just happened. It could even be said that they were nervous. The atmosphere became a little awkward. Chu Wuming did not mind the change in the atmosphere. After chatting with the three commanders for an hour, Chu Wuming finally looked at the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army. "Since the two generals have already followed me, then I would like to invite the two generals under your command to Jinshan City tomorrow for me to meet them." Finally, they had reached the main topic. They had subdued two main generals. However, Xiao Qin did not think that he could control the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army, which had hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Therefore, he still needed to clean up the generals of the two armies. He needed to replace the important positions with Chu Wuming's men. This was the only way to ensure that nothing would go wrong. After hearing Chu Wuming's words, how could the two commanders not know that Chu Wuming was doing this to completely control the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army? They could imagine that if these deputy generals were to come to Jinshan City, at least half of them would be killed and replaced with Chu Wuming's trusted subordinates. They did not want to agree to Chu Wuming, but did they have a choice? No. If they did not agree, they would die. After hesitating for a while, the two commanders respectfully said, "We will obey your command." "Haha, then the two of you can stay in Jinshan City for the time being. I have a lot of things to say to the two of you." Chu Wuming replied with a smile after hearing their reply. Great. Not only did he want to eliminate the deputy generals of the two armies, he also wanted to put the two commanders under house arrest. This was, of course. After all, it was still unknown whether the two of them were really loyal to Chu Wuming. Before things were stabilized, the two of them naturally had to stay in Jinshan City. There was also no objection. Then, Chu Wuming asked Zhao Feng to arrange accommodation for the two of them in the general's mansion. At the same time, Chu Wuming arranged tens of thousands of Jinshan army soldiers to guard the two of them. At the same time, Xiao Chen also arranged for Tian Guichuan to stay in the general's mansion, just in case. After everything was arranged properly, everyone dispersed. The next day, the two commanders of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army followed Chu Wuming's instructions and summoned all the generals of the two armies to Jinshan City. In this regard, Chu Wuming was naturally fully prepared. Now that the entire Jinshan City was under martial law, hundreds of thousands of Jinshan army soldiers were ready. As long as the commanders of the two armies appeared, they would be taken down immediately. While waiting for the arrival of the two armies on the other side, Xiao Chun personally led Zhang Qi, Si Kongming, and two Tianqi sect elders to Wei Yuan army. In order to help Xiao Chun, Gu Qi sent 3 Tianqi sect elders. Together with Tian Guichuan, there were a total of 4 Tianqi sect elders who could be commanded by Xiao Chun. The purpose of bringing people to Wei Yuan army this time was very simple. That was to completely control Wei Yuan army. Now that Wei Yuan army was gradually falling, what Xiao Chun wanted to do was to support a commander who was willing to follow Chu Wuming. At the same time, he would kill those disobedient commanders and place Chu Wuming's confidence in them, just like the other two armies. Only in this way could he completely control Wei Yuan army. The 4 armies were connected by transmission arrays. Through the transmission arrays, Xiao Chun and others came to Wei Yuan City, where Wei Yuan army was located. In the name of Chu Wuming, all the commanders of Wei Yuan army were gathered in the general's mansion. Soon, a total of 23 Wei Yuan army soldiers arrived at the general's mansion in Wei Yuan City. Without any nonsense, Xiao Chun gave these commanders the same choice as last night. Either surrender or die. At the same time, Xiao Chun also told the news of the death of the commander of Wei Yuan army. Hearing that the commander was dead, several commanders immediately shouted angrily, "Is His Highness the Third Prince trying to rebel? How dare he kill the commander? Kill!" Facing the angry shouts of these commanders, Xiao Chun said indifferently, "He didn't come here today to have a heart-to-heart talk with these people. Since they were not loyal to Chu Wuming, they could only be killed. Zhang Qi and Sikong Ming immediately took action, accompanied by a bloody massacre. After killing more than half of the commanders, the rest of the commanders finally chose to surrender to Chu Wuming. Among them, there was a commander named Wu Tao who surprised Xiao Chun. This person was very smart, so Xiao Chun appointed him to temporarily take charge of Wei Yuan army. Facing Xiao Chun's arrangement, Wu Tao was very excited. It could be seen that Wu Tao was a very ambitious guy, and such a person was exactly what Xiao Chun needed the most now. There is no need to be afraid of ambition, because as long as you have ambition, you can better control yourself. In just a day, the matter of Wei Yuan army was basically solved. Next, Chu Wuming only needed to send his confidants to the Wei Yuan army. At that time, more than half of the Wei Yuan army would be Chu Wuming's men. In this way, he would be able to quickly control the entire Wei Yuan army. Chapter 496. The situation of the Wei Yuan army had been stabilized for the time being. As for who Chu Wuming would send, Xiao Chun had already thought about it. The soldiers of the battling dragon camp were the best choice. Although the cultivation of the soldiers of the battling dragon camp wasn't too high, and there was still a big gap between them and the generals, Chu Wuming had to send hundreds of his confidants to the three armies. He could only choose from the battling dragon camp. After all, the battling dragon camp was Chu Wuming's private army. They had been following Chu Wuming since he was in the imperial capital. There was no problem with their loyalty. It was the best and only choice to send the battling dragon camp soldiers to the three armies in a hurry. Otherwise, Chu Wuming wouldn't be able to send so many confidants in such a short time. However, the soldiers of the battling dragon camp were enough for the time being. Soon, Chu Wuming sent hundreds of battling dragon camp soldiers through the teleportation array. Xiao Chun also placed them into the Wei Yuan army one by one. Especially the important positions, they could only be controlled by Chu Wuming. After doing all this, it was already 2 days later. Calculating the time, the generals of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army should be arriving at Jinshan City. Leaving Zhang Qi in the Wei Yuan army as a precaution, Xiao Chun brought Sikong Ming and the others back to Jinshan City. The matter of the Wei Yuan army was almost settled, but still needed some time to stabilize. Next, it will be the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army's turn. After returning to Jinshan City, Xiao Chun met with Chu Wuming and learned that the generals of the two armies would arrive one after another tomorrow. Chu Wuming had already completed the preparations. As long as the generals of the two armies entered Jinshan City, they could be taken down immediately. Everything was ready. The next morning, the first to arrive was the White Flame Army. There were also 23 of them. They successfully entered, but before everyone could react, the soldiers and generals of the Jinshan army suddenly took action. They immediately took down the 23 of them and sealed their cultivation. All of them were locked up in the prison of the general's mansion. Not long after, the Metal Armor Army also arrived. Just like the generals of the White Flame Army, all of them were captured the moment they entered the city. The two armies were all captured. Then, Chu Wuming and Xiao Chun personally came to the dungeon. Just like how they dealt with the Wei Yuan army, they killed more than half of the descenders and gathered those who were willing to surrender. Then, they planted their own people. Only then did Chu Wuming release these people. Within a short 5 days, the Wei Yuan army, the White Flame Army, and the Metal Armor Army had all submitted. Of course, Chu Wuming's status also played a huge role in this matter being able to proceed so smoothly. They were originally members of the imperial family, and these generals have been instilled with loyalty to the imperial family from the beginning to the end. Thus, when they pledged their allegiance to Chu Wuming, other than a few people, the other generals did not have much resistance. It was very clear that if it was someone else, it would not be so easy to subdue these generals. It had to be said that Chu Wuming's status also played a huge role. The 4 armies of Hulao Pass were already under Chu Wuming's control. The next step was to deal with the Blood Moon Guards. After all, if the Blood Moon Guards were in Chu Wuming's hands, it would be a huge threat to Chu Wuming. He had never thought of subduing the Blood Moon Guards because it was simply impossible. The Blood Moon Guards were Emperor Chu Mu's personal army. They only listened to Chu Mu's orders and were absolutely loyal to Chu Mu. There was no possibility of them joining anyone else. Thus, when facing the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Wuming and Xiao Chen's thoughts were surprisingly the same. Kill them. In the study of the general's residence, Xiao Chun and Chu Wuming sat opposite each other. Looking at Xiao Chun, Chu Wuming said, "Brother Xiao, I've already secretly sent someone back to the imperial capital. I believe that Father will definitely send the Blood Moon Guards to thoroughly investigate." The news of the Wei Yuan Legion's commander being killed had already been secretly sent back to the imperial capital. After receiving this news, Chu Mu would definitely order the Blood Moon Guards to investigate thoroughly. After all, that was a commander of an army. It would be strange if Chu Mu didn't investigate thoroughly when he died mysteriously. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Xiao Chun nodded slightly and said, "If that's the case, then let's wait and see. When the Blood Moon Guards arrive, we will immediately take action." Hearing this, Chu Wuming nodded slightly. Just as Xiao Chun and Xiao Chan were discussing in the Imperial Palace, Chu Mu also received the news of the Wei Yuan Army's general's death. The Wei Yuan Army is gradually dying? How is that possible? He is a Dao sovereign expert. How can he die inexplicably? After receiving this news, Chu Mu's first reaction was disbelief, but it quickly turned into fury. A general of an army had died inexplicably. This was definitely a big deal. Chu Mu shouted angrily. Then, as Chu Wuming expected, Chu Mu indeed sent the Blood Moon Guards to investigate. In a deep courtyard deep in the Imperial Palace, this was the military camp of the Blood Moon Guards. There were only 1,000 of them. Normally, they would not leave this place. They would only take action after receiving Chu Mu's order. On this day, 1,000 Blood Moon Guards gathered in the courtyard. The leader of the Blood Moon Guards was a Dao sovereign expert. Last night, the Blood Moon Guards received Chu Mu's order to immediately head to Hulao Pass to investigate the death of the general of the Wei Yuan Army. After receiving the order, the leader of the Blood Moon Guards immediately gathered all the Blood Moon Guards and prepared to head to Hulao Pass. Chu Mu's reaction was very fast. However, as soon as he took action, Xiao Chun and Chu Wuming also received the news. At the same time, the two of them were already prepared to kill the Blood Moon Guards. As for the location, it was obviously in Jinshan City. They had already moved by Ruyue and the rest out of Jinshan City in advance. At the same time, as Jinshan City was a military fortress, it naturally had a city protection array. Now, the array was ready to be activated at any time. As soon as the Blood Moon Guard arrived, the array would be activated and the entire Jinshan City would be sealed. They were already prepared to besiege and kill the Blood Moon Guards. The 4 elders of the Tianqi sect, the generals of the 4 armies, and the 200,000 experts in the army were already lying in ambush in Jinshan City. They were only waiting for Chu Wuming's order to take action immediately. Sitting in the general's mansion and waiting for the arrival of the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Wuming looked at Xiao Chun and asked, "Brother Xiao Chun, why do you want the generals of the 3 armies of the Wei Yuan Army to participate in the attack?" Originally, according to Chu Wuming's intention, only the Jinshan Army and the 4 elders of the Tianqi sect were needed to kill the Blood Moon Guards. However, Xiao Chun insisted on including the generals of the 3 armies of the Wei Yuan Army. Although the 3 armies had already submitted to Chu Wuming, it was hard to say how loyal they were. Besieging and killing the Blood Moon Guards was an extremely difficult task. Once the 3 armies were disloyal, things would become even more troublesome. Chapter 497. He did not understand why Xiao Chun did this. Facing Chu Wuming's question, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Your Highness, it's still unknown whether the 3 armies are loyal or not. I'm only doing this to break their hopes." The reason why the Wei Yuan Army and the other 2 armies were allowed to participate in the encirclement of the Blood Moon Guards was to cut off their escape route. Thinking about it, once the 3 armies participated in the encirclement of the Blood Moon Guards, it was equivalent to them being tightly tied to Chu Wuming. As such, even if they were disloyal in the future, they would not dare to easily betray him, because Emperor Chu Wuming could no longer tolerate them. In order to survive, they naturally had to hug Chu Wuming's thigh tightly. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chu Wuming was enlightened and did not say anything else. Indeed, the three armies did not need to contribute much in the encirclement of the Blood Moon Guards. They only needed to participate in the encirclement, and the purpose was to show off to Chu Mu. The entire Jinshan city was now completely under martial law. Around dusk, 1,000 Blood Moon Guards finally appeared from the teleportation formation in Jinshan City. As the teleportation formation lit up, the Blood Moon Guards walked out of it one after another. Looking around, the Blood Moon Guard commander felt that something was amiss the moment he arrived in Jinshan City. The entire Jinshan City was actually so quiet. He furrowed his brows slightly. Such a strange silence made the Blood Moon Guard commander suspicious. However, before he could say anything, the teleportation formation was closed after all the Blood Moon Guards left. At the same time, a gigantic light shield enveloped the entire Jinshan City. The city protection formation was activated. The city protection formation was inexplicably activated. Noticing this, the Blood Moon Guard commander made a prompt decision and shouted coldly, "Be careful and be on guard." As soon as the Blood Moon Guard commander finished speaking, Tian Wuchuan and the other 3 celestial equal sect elders led the generals of the other 4 legions and 200,000 soldiers to surround the Blood Moon Guards from all directions. In an instant, they surrounded the former Blood Moon Guards. Surrounded in the middle, the Blood Moon Guard's commander frowned as he looked at the 200,000 soldiers with weapons in their hands. A cold glint flashed across his eyes as he said, "For major legions." At a glance, he could tell that these people were from the 4 major armies. Now that they had surrounded the Blood Moon Guards, what did they want to do? Revolt? The commander of the Blood Moon Guards looked at the generals of the 4 legions with overflowing killing intent in his eyes and shouted coldly, "Why? Are the 4 legions rebelling?" Hearing this, the 2 main generals of the White Flame Army and the Iron Armor Army had complicated expressions. Since they appeared here, they had already been labeled as rebels. There was no way out. In the face of the Blood Moon Guard commander's cold shout, the 2 commanders only hesitated for a few breaths. Immediately after, they made up their minds and shouted coldly, "Kill." Just as Xiao Chun thought, since the 3 major armies appeared here, they had no way out. Since there was no way out, they could only follow Chu Wuming to the end. Following the orders of the 2 main generals, 200,000 soldiers and the generals of the 4 legions immediately besieged the Blood Moon Guards. Seeing this, the commander of the Blood Moon Guard's face darkened again. Sure enough, the 4 major armies were rebelling. He shouted coldly at the Blood Moon Guards, "Kill." The 2 sides immediately engaged in a fierce battle. In an instant, the entire Jinshan city became a battlefield. However, due to the activation of the city defense array, no one could leave. Hence, the commander of the Blood Moon Guards never thought of escaping. Since he could not escape, he could only fight with all his might. Although there were only 1,000 Blood Moon Guards in the face of an army of 200,000 soldiers, their combat power was extremely terrifying. Not only did they control a powerful battle formation, but their individual strength was also not to be underestimated. Without taking any action, the battle broke out. Xiao Chun and Chu Wuming stood in the air above Jinshan City and watched the fierce battle below. Although it was the first time that Xiao Chun saw the Blood Moon Guards, he could already confirm that the combat power of the Blood Moon Guards was not any weaker than the Sky Wolf Guards of the Sky Wolf Empire. To be honest, Xiao Chun could not bear to see such a powerful army being annihilated in Jinshan City. However, there was no other way. The Blood Moon Guards had to be annihilated. Otherwise, Chu Wuming would not be able to take over the power, and Xiao Chun would not be able to achieve his goal. Most importantly, there was not enough time. If there was enough time, Xiao Chun would definitely think of other ways to deal with the Blood Moon Guards. However, Xiao Chun did not have so much time now. He could only use the simplest and most brutal way to deal with the Blood Moon Guards, which was to kill them. the fierce battle broke out. Facing the siege of 200,000 soldiers, the Blood Moon Guards did not show any signs of defeat. On the contrary, they even forced the 200,000 soldiers to retreat. However, the situation was completely reversed with the help of the generals of the four legions and Tiang Guichuan and the other three elders. Not to mention the generals of the four legions, just Tiang Guichuan and the other three Dao emperors were enough to make the Blood Moon Guards feel pressured. Sensing that Tiang Guichuan and the other three were Dao emperors, the Blood Moon Guard commander's expression changed drastically. Dao emperors set up the formation and block them. They could only use the formation to block Tiang Guichuan and the other three. Moreover, the formation could only stall for time. If it was just a single Dao Emperor Realm expert, then the Blood Moon Guards would be able to defeat that Dao Emperor Realm expert by relying on their battle formation. Yet now, the Blood Moon Guards were facing an entire four Dao Emperors, numerous Dao Kings and Dao Exalts, and an army of 200,000. As a result, the Blood Moon Guards were naturally unable to stop them. The battle quickly became one-sided as the Blood Moon Guards were killed mercilessly one after another. There were no miracles. In order to kill the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Wuming and Xiao Chun had made thorough preparations. It was impossible for them to leave the Blood Moon Guards any chance of survival. Chu Wuming's eyes were filled with a complicated expression as he watched the Blood Moon Guards being killed one after another. The Blood Moon Guards had to be annihilated for his power. However, from another perspective, the annihilation of the Blood Moon Guards was a loss to the Moonless Empire. After this battle, the Moonless Empire will no longer have the Blood Moon Guards. Your Highness, that's not right. Now, only the Blood Moon Guards that don't belong to Your Highness have been annihilated. In the future, Your Highness can create a Blood Moon Guard that belongs to you, Xiao Chan said indifferently when he heard Chu Wuming's words. The name of the Blood Moon Guards wouldn't disappear. A bright light flashed through Chu Wuming's eyes when he heard Xiao Chen's words. That's right, the name of the Blood Moon Guards wouldn't disappear. When I gain power in the future, I can rebuild the Blood Moon Guards. As the fierce battle continued below, the annihilation of the Blood Moon Guards was a foregone conclusion. The night gradually darkened, and the fierce battle continued. Chapter 498. The sky gradually darkened. After confirming that the Blood Moon Guards could no longer cause any trouble, Xiao Chun and Chu Wuming returned to the general's residence. Although the Blood Moon Guards were still trying their best to resist, the result was obvious. Under the siege of four almighty Dao emperors, close to 100 Dao kings, Dao masters, and 200,000 troops of the four legions, it was impossible for the Blood Moon Guards to have any plans no matter how strong they were. Being able to persist until now was enough to prove the strength of the Blood Moon Guards. It was a pity that such a powerful army was so pale and powerless in the face of power. After returning to the general's residence, Chu Wuming was obviously in a complicated and heavy mood. He did not say a word. Chu Wuming did not regret killing the Blood Moon Guards because he did not have a second choice. However, personally destroying such a powerful army of the Moonless Empire was indeed a heavy blow to Chu Wuming. Seeing that Chu Wuming was not in a good mood, Xiao Chun took the initiative to say, Your Highness, now that the matter is basically settled, I will return first. Brother Xiao, what do you mean? Don't you want to follow me to meet the Blood Moon Guard commander? Chu Wuming asked doubtfully when he heard Xiao Chen's words. Previously, Xiao Chun had told Tiang Guichuan and the other three that if possible, it was best to capture the Blood Moon Guard commander alive. Now that Xiao Chun wanted to leave, Chu Wuming naturally found it strange. In fact, Xiao Chun was not interested in the Blood Moon Guard commander. Now that the situation was settled, there was no need for Xiao Chun to continue staying here. Perhaps it would be better for Chu Wuming to meet the Blood Moon Guard commander alone. I won't see him. Your Highness should meet him alone. Xiao Chun smiled and turned to leave. After a night of bloody battle, the first ray of sunlight shone on the ground. Under the sunlight, the battle in Jinshan City finally came to an end. The entire Jinshan City was filled with corpses. Most of them were soldiers of the four major legions. In the battle last night, the Blood Moon Guards fought with all their might and killed 150,000 soldiers. At the same time, 8 soldiers from the 4 legions died in battle. It was indeed a glorious achievement to be able to achieve this with only 1,000 people. However, it was useless. In the end, the Blood Moon Guards did not escape the fate of being destroyed. According to Xiao Chen's orders, the Blood Moon Guard captain was captured alive and his cultivation was crippled. Zhao Feng personally brought him to Chu Wuming. In the main hall of the general's residence, the commander of the Blood Moon Guards saw Chu Wuming, who had been waiting for the entire night. He originally thought that the battle would end quickly, but who knew that it would last for the entire night? This night, Chu Wuming did not sleep and had been waiting here. At this moment, they finally saw the Blood Moon Guard commander. His body was covered in blood, and his body was riddled with wounds. His cultivation was even destroyed, and he was completely a cripple. Seeing Chu Wuming, the Blood Moon Guard commander paused for a moment, but he soon burst into laughter. Haha, so that's how it is. So that's how it is. The moment he saw Chu Wuming, the Blood Moon Guard commander instantly understood everything. From the Wei Yuan army being gradually killed, to the 4 major legions besieging the Blood Moon Guards, and now to the destruction of the Blood Moon Guards. Everything was Chu Wuming's masterpiece. Previously, he thought that the 4 major legions had rebelled, but now it seemed that it was not the case. They had joined Chu Wuming. Chu Wuming laughed out loud, but his laughter was filled with bitterness. He waved his hand and signaled Zhao Feng to leave. Soon, only Chu Wuming and the Blood Moon Guard commander were left in the main hall. One of them sat on the main seat, while the other knelt in the middle of the main hall. They looked at each other. After a long time, Chu Wuming broke the silence first. The Blood Moon Guards are indeed the strongest army in the Empire. I admire you. These were Chu Wuming's heartfelt words, but the Blood Moon Guard commander smiled bitterly. So what if the Blood Moon Guards are strong? They still fell on your highness's path to becoming the emperor. It was already clear what Chu Wuming wanted to do. Without waiting for Chu Wuming's reply, the Blood Moon Guard's commander sighed softly and said, "Don't worry." Who would have thought that the 3rd prince, who had already left the imperial capital and seemed to have no fate with the position of crown prince, would actually control the 4 major legions of the Hulao Pass? It's funny that the 1st prince and the 2nd prince are still fighting to the death in the imperial capital. Ha! Chu Wuming's actions were indeed unexpected to the Blood Moon Guard commander. Compared to Chu Wushuang and Chu Wuk, Chu Wuming's methods were more brilliant, decisive, and ruthless. Hearing the Blood Moon Guard commander's words, Chu Wuming did not refute and shook his head bitterly. I have no choice. This simple sentence fully expressed the helplessness in Chu Wuming's heart. Chu Wuming was ambitious, but Chu Wuming did not have the slightest chance of winning against his 1st brother and 2nd brother. Therefore, he could only take the risk to have the chance to turn defeat into victory. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, the Blood Moon Guard commander paused slightly. He could tell that Chu Wuming was not lying. Besieging and killing the Blood Moon Guards was also a choice that Chu Wuming had no choice. There was no other choice. The Blood Moon Guards blocked Chu Wuming's path to power, so they could only be eliminated. Taking a deep breath, the matter was already settled. The Blood Moon Guards were destroyed, and Chu Wuming had millions of troops in his hands. Now, as long as Chu Wuming gave an order, not to mention Chu Wushuang and Chu Wuk, even Chu Mu would have to retreat. A mere crown prince position was already in Chu Wuming's bag. Furthermore, Chu Wuming even had the ability to fight for the supreme emperor position and could even force Chu Mu to give up his position. Chu Wushuang and Chu Wuk were no match for Chu Wuming, and similarly, Chu Mu was no match for Chu Wuming. From today onwards, Chu Wuming would be the true master of the Moonless Empire. Even if Chu Wuk did not fight for that position, Chu Mu would definitely be a figurehead. At that time, the crown prince would be in charge of the Moonless Empire, and the emperor would not have any power. Looking calmly at Chu Wuming, the Blood Moon Guard commander said indifferently, "Your Highness, there is no one who can stop you now. Before I die, may I be so bold as to ask, what you plan to do with the first prince and second prince in the future? Chu Wuming's ascension to power was inevitable, and no one could stop him. As such, the first prince and second prince, Chu Wushuang, would be in an awkward position as their existence would always be a threat to Chu Wuming. Hearing the Blood Moon Guard commander's words, Chu Wuming slightly exhorted before coldly spitting out a word, kill. Chu Wuming had already thought of how to deal with Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. They could only be killed, and the two of them definitely could not be allowed to live. As long as they were alive, regardless of the time, they were a potential danger to Chu Wuming. As though he had already guessed Chu Wuming's answer, the Blood Moon Guard commander did not change his expression and continued to ask, then, how does your highness plan to deal with his majesty? Still kill? Chapter 499. The Blood Moon Guard commander was not surprised that Chu Wuming wanted to kill Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang, the most merciless royal family. Even if the three of them were biological brothers, Chu Wuming would definitely not let them live. Therefore, after realizing that Chu Wuming's ascension to power was inevitable, the Blood Moon Guard commander had already guessed the fate of Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. Now, he was most concerned about how Chu Wuming intended to treat Chu Mu, the emperor, and his father. The Blood Moon Guard commander did not care about the life and death of Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. However, he was absolutely loyal to Chu Mu. Before his death, the Blood Moon Guard commander wanted to do one last thing for Chu Mu, and that was to persuade Chu Wushuang not to harm Chu Mu. After all, they were father and son. Hearing the Blood Moon Guard commander's words, Chu Wushuang did not reply immediately. To be honest, Chu Wushuang also did not know how to treat Chu Mu. Seeing that Chu Wushuang had fallen into silence, the Blood Moon Guard commander said nervously, "Your Highness, you and His Majesty are father and son. You..." Thinking that Chu Wushuang also wanted to kill Chu Mu and directly ascend to the throne, the Blood Moon Guard commander persuaded nervously. However, before he could finish his sentence, Chu Wushuang interrupted him. "Don't worry, I will not commit patricide." Previously, Chu Wuming was very hesitant about Chu Mu's matter. However, at this moment, Chu Wuming made a decision. He could kill Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang, but not Chu Mu. No matter what, he would not commit patricide. Hearing this, the Blood Moon Guard commander secretly heaved a sigh of relief and bowed deeply to Chu Wuming. "Then I can go with peace of mind. I hope that your highness will not forget what you said today and will not commit patricide in the future no matter what." After receiving Chu Wuming's promise, the Blood Moon Guard commander was already very satisfied. Although Chu Wuming knew that it would be difficult to rope in the Blood Moon Guards, he still probed. "Actually, you don't have to die. If you are willing to rely on me." Chu Wuming did not have the slightest hatred or enmity towards the Blood Moon Guard commander. On the contrary, he admired him very much. This was a rare talent, and, at the same time, he was a loyal person. If he could subdue him, Chu Wuming naturally did not want to kill him. However, after hearing Chu Wuming's words, the commander of the Blood Moon Guards shook his head without hesitation and said with a smile, "Thank you for your kindness, your highness. However, I cannot be loyal to you." As expected, the Blood Moon Guard commander was unwilling to betray Chu Wuming even in death. After he finished speaking, without waiting for Chu Wuming's reply, the Blood Moon Guard commander bit his tongue and committed suicide. He knew that there was no way out today. If he did not submit, Chu Wuming would definitely not let him go. Therefore, Chu Wuming did not even need to do anything, and the Blood Moon Guard commander ended his own life. His entire body fell straight to the ground. Looking at the Blood Moon Guard commander's corpse, Chu Wuming sighed softly. Then, he silently stood up and left the main palace. Following the death of the Blood Moon Guard commander, the entire Blood Moon Guard was also declared dead. As such, Chu Wuming could directly force the emperor to abdicate. With the millions of troops in his hands, the support of the Celestial Equal sect, and the Burning Sky ruler, it was already enough to force Chu Mu to give in. Although the Moonless Empire's army did not only consist of the 4 great armies in Hulao Pass, with the 4 great armies in his hands, Chu Wuming's power was already unstoppable. After all, with these armies, he could completely control the emperor's capital in an instant. As long as he could control the emperor's capital, Chu Wuming could ascend to the position of crown prince. Next was the matter of planning to head to the emperor's capital. Just as Chu Wuming destroyed the Blood Moon Guards here, in the emperor's capital, the battle between Chu Wushuang and Chu Wuk could be said to be getting more and more intense. Due to Chu Wuming's departure, both Chu Wuming and Chu Wuk wanted to end this battle for the position of crown prince as soon as possible. Therefore, the emperor's capital could be said to be surging with winds and clouds, and the initiator of all this was the battle between the first prince and the second prince. The two of them crazily roped in the influential officials in the imperial court and even assassinated many of them. Seeing that the competition was getting more and more intense, Chu Mu still did not express his stance. In Chu Wuk's palace, Chu Wuk, who was wearing a purple python robe, was lying on a luxurious recliner. Behind him were two beautiful maids massaging him. While enjoying the service of the two young ladies, Chu Wuk looked at a middle-aged man in front of him and smiled. I have received news that the commander of the Wei Yuan army in Hulao Pass has mysteriously fallen. Yesterday, Father has sent the Blood Moon Guards to thoroughly investigate this matter. Do you think I should do something? Your Highness wants to. Hearing Chu Wuk's words, the middle-aged man quickly thought of something, but did not dare to say it out loud. The middle-aged man didn't finish his sentence, but Chu Wuk didn't blame him and continued with a smile. That's right, I do want to use this opportunity to do something. My third brother is currently in Hulao Pass. Although he is far away from the emperor's capital, he is still a potential threat to me. I am thinking that perhaps I can use this opportunity to eliminate my third brother. He didn't know the situation in Hulao Pass at all. After all, the entire Hulao Pass was currently in Chu Wuming's hands, and the news had long been sealed. Therefore, Chu Wuk naturally couldn't guess that the commander of the Wei Yuan army was killed by Chu Wuming. It was laughable that he still wanted to make a fuss about this matter to eliminate Chu Wuming. In fact, Chu Wuk's idea was very simple. He wanted to implicate Chu Wuming in this matter and frame Chu Wuming as the murderer of the Wei Yuan army's commander. This way, Chu Wuming would be completely finished. With a faint smile on his face, Chu Wuk probably already had a plan in mind. Besides, not only Chu Wuk, but Chu Wushuang on the other side also had the same thought. In Chu Wushuang's imperial residence, at this moment, Chu Wushuang laughed heartily. Haha, good opportunity. This is really a good opportunity. This way, I can eliminate Chu Wuming in one fell swoop. Compared to Chu Wushuang was obviously more unscrupulous. Chu Wushuang had no intention of hiding his intention to eliminate Chu Wuming. The two of them didn't know the situation in Hulao Pass at all. It was laughable that Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang were still thinking about eliminating Chu Wuming. In their hearts, even though Chu Wuming had already left the imperial capital, he was still a threat. In other words, regardless of whether he was a threat or not, the two of them wouldn't let Chu Wuming go. Only when he was dead would he be truly safe. The two of them had no intention of letting Chu Wuming go. However, their thoughts were extremely laughable because at this moment, Chu Wuming and Xiao Chun had already made plans to head to the imperial capital. They would reach the imperial capital in a few days and seize the position of the Eastern Palace's crown prince in one fell swoop. Chapter 500. Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang started to take action. With such a rare opportunity, the two of them wanted to kill Chu Wuming. Under the manipulation of the two behind the scenes, rumors quickly spread in the imperial city. They said that the death of the Wei Yuan army's commander in Hulao Pass was caused by Chu Wuming. Chu Wuming wanted to seize military power, which was why he secretly killed the commander of the Wei Yuan army. It had to be said that these two brothers were really not simple. They actually hit the nail on the head. However, it was a pity that the two of them didn't know that the rumors they used to frame Chu Wuming were actually true. Chu Wuming really did want to seize military power, and he had already succeeded. As the rumor spread, Chu Wuming could be said to be at the heart of the storm. At the same time, Under the push of Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang, many influential officials in the imperial court also started to impeach Chu Wuming. They hoped that Chu Mu would thoroughly investigate this matter. If it was true, Chu Wuming had to be severely punished. Even the emperor who violated the law had to be punished like a commoner, let alone a prince like Chu Wuming. Moreover, if Chu Wuming really wanted to seize military power, he was already suspected of treason. This was a serious crime that could be beheaded. The imperial city was in an uproar, and the imperial court was even more so. The imperial court assembly that lasted for 2 days basically revolved around Chu Wuming's matter. The officials in Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang's camps all pointed out that this matter should be investigated and Chu Wuming should be severely punished. Regarding this, Chu Mu didn't hesitate too much. He immediately sent out an imperial decree to summon Chu Wuming to the imperial city. It was obvious that he wanted to interrogate Chu Wuming. In Hulao Pass in Shan City, Chu Wuming had already received Chu Mu's imperial decree yesterday. At this moment, he was sitting in the study room with Xiao Chun. Looking at Xiao Chun, Chu Wuming said helplessly with a bitter smile, "My 2 good brothers really didn't give me any chance to live." With a glance, he could see that everything was orchestrated by his 2 brothers behind the scenes. As the emperor, Chu Mu actually didn't speak up for him. Instead, he wanted to summon him back to the imperial city. He was very clear that once he returned to the imperial city, he probably wouldn't be able to come out again. Facing Chu Wuming's bitter smile, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "What does your highness plan to do?" "Of course, since imperial father has already given the order, as your son, I naturally have to obey." Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Chu Wuming sneered. Previously, Chu Wuming still felt that he was a little cruel. However, now that Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang had secretly tried to kill him, Chu Wuming wanted to kill him. In addition, Chu Mu didn't speak up for him in this matter. To Chu Wuming, this matter made him completely disappointed. At the same time, he didn't have the slightest bit of hesitation about what he was going to do in the future. After all, they wanted him dead, so why should he be merciful? They had already discussed the matter of entering the imperial city. This time, Xiao Chun and Chu Wuming only planned to bring the Jinshan army and the main generals of the 4 legions. As for the other 3 legions, they would remain in Hulao Pass. After all, Hulao Pass was an important border defense area. It had to be heavily guarded. Otherwise, if the Heavenly Wolf Empire seized the opportunity to launch an attack, they would be able to penetrate deep into the Moonless Empire's residence. This would be very troublesome. Furthermore, the Jinshan army had 500,000 people. This was enough to control the imperial city. In addition to Zhao Feng and the other main generals of the 4 legions, they were more than enough to deal with any unexpected situations. After making a decision, Chu Wuming took the lead and went to the imperial city through the teleportation array the next morning. Xiao Chun led the Jinshan army and entered the imperial city later. After Chu Wuming left, Xiao Chun, Zhao Feng, and the other generals of the 4 legions gathered in the general's mansion. They explained in detail the matters that they needed to pay attention to when they went to the imperial city. Do all the generals understand? After arriving at the imperial city, the first thing you need to do is take control of the imperial city gates and the imperial palace. At the same time, you need to control the imperial palace guards. Young master, rest assured, we will definitely not disappoint you. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Zhao Feng and the other generals replied in unison. After making all the preparations, Xiao Chun ordered the generals to start moving. For this matter, Chu Wuming took out tens of millions of mid-grade spirit stones in order to allow the 500,000 troops to arrive at the imperial city through the teleportation array in an instant. Everyone knew that once the teleportation array was activated, it would consume spirit stones. Moreover, any teleportation array would have a limit on the number of people it could transport at a time. Take the teleportation array in Jinshan City, for example. Because this was a border town, the teleportation array in Jinshan City was of a very high level. In the Moonless Empire, it was second only to the main teleportation array in the Imperial City. However, even so, the teleportation array in Jinshan City could only transport 10,000 people at a time. Therefore, if the 500,000 troops wanted to go to the Imperial City through the teleportation array, they would have to continuously teleport. As a result, the amount of spirit stones required was naturally huge. However, Chu Wuming had already prepared all of them. Tens of millions of spiritual senses were constantly injected into the teleportation array. At the same time, teams of well-equipped soldiers were constantly entering the teleportation array. Just as Xiao Chun was arranging for the troops to arrive at the Imperial City, Chu Wuming, who arrived at the Imperial City first, had already arrived at the Wuha Palace and the Imperial Palace. Chu Mu and the ministers of the Moonless Empire were all gathered in the Wuha Palace. Chu Wuming stood in front of the ministers with a calm expression. However, his eyes unconsciously revealed a trace of disappointment. As soon as he arrived at Wuha Palace, Chu Wuming was attacked by the officials. Words such as secretly seizing military power, plotting rebellion, and so on were endless. It was obvious that they wanted to accuse him of being a traitor and a traitor. In the face of the minister's accusations, Chu Wuming did not say a word from beginning to end. This made Chu Wuming completely disappointed. Coldly sweeping his gaze across the crowd, Chu Wuming secretly memorized the names of the ministers who shouted the loudest. In his heart, Chu Wuming had already sentenced these people to death. Enough! After a full hour, Chu Mu shouted in a deep voice, interrupting the minister's accusations. Then, he looked at Chu Wuming and asked expressionlessly, "Chu Wuming, the ministers said that you secretly seized military power and plotted to rebel. You even secretly killed the general of the Wei Yuan army. Do you admit to these things?" "Father, does it make a difference whether I admit it or not?" Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Wuming indifferently replied. Since Chu Mu had already spoken, it meant that he already had an answer in his heart. As expected, Chu Wuming said indifferently, "Chu Wuming, there's no smoke without fire. From today onwards, hand over the Battle Dragon Camp and the Royal Academy's Human Island. Return to the palace and reflect in peace." Chu Mu had already made his decision. He immediately executed Chu Wuming. Although he did not order Chu Wuming to be executed, he took away all the power in Chu Wuming's hands. At the same time, he also ordered Chu Wuming to return to the palace to reflect. However, rather than calling it reflection, it was more appropriate to call a house arrest. Chapter 501. Chu Mu directly stripped Chu Wuming of all his authority and even wanted to put him under house arrest in the palace. Hearing Chu Mu's words, the smile on Chu Wuming's face became even more helpless. At the same time, a cold intent rose from Chu Wuming's body. As expected, the ideal crown prince in his father's heart was still Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. If he hadn't met Xiao Chun, perhaps Chu Wuming would have already risen. But now it was clearly impossible. Helplessly laughing bitterly, Chu Wuming's eyes immediately shot out two intense rays of burning light. In his heart, he roared, "Since you won't give it to me, I'll snatch it myself." He could see that Chu Mu would not give the crown prince position to him. The crown prince of the Moonless Empire could only be chosen from Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. Since that was the case, Chu Wuming no longer had any reservations in his heart. Since that was the case, he would snatch it himself. Sensing the change in the aura on Chu Wuming's body, Chu Wuk's expression changed slightly. A trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. Today's matter was already set, but Chu Wuming did not have the slightest bit of fear. This was a bit strange. Like Chu Wuk, Chu Wushuang also felt the change in Chu Wuming. However, his shrewdness was clearly not as deep as Chu Wuk's, so he immediately laughed coldly. "Third brother, are you refusing to accept father's decision? Could it be that you really want to rebel?" The coldness emitted from Chu Wuming's body was extremely cold. Everyone present could feel it. Hearing Chu Wushuang's words, Chu Wuming smiled. His smile was very cold, and his tone was extremely indifferent. "I've already left the imperial capital, but you still have no intention of letting me go. My two good brothers, I think that even if I'm willing to give up today, you still won't let me go in the future, right? He was very clear that even if he handed over all his authority and was even placed under house arrest in the palace, Chu Wuk and Chu Wuxuan would still not let him off. In the future, the two of them would definitely think of other ways to eliminate him. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Mu, who was sitting on the throne, coldly shouted. Enough! Chu Wuming stepped down. Chu Wuming's words clearly made Chu Mu hesitate. Hearing this, Chu Wuming didn't have the slightest intention of backing down. He retracted his gaze from Chu Wuxuan and Chu Wuk and looked straight at Chu Wuming on the throne. At this moment, Chu Wuming calmed down and said indifferently, Imperial Father, don't you find it strange? The Blood Moon Guards have already headed to Hulao Pass for a few days, but there is no news. Does Father not have any thoughts? Since things had already come to this, there was naturally no need to hide anymore. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Mu was first stunned, but his expression quickly changed. At the same time, many of the ministers present and some of the more quick-witted people also quickly guessed something. An intense chill flickered in Chu Mu's eyes as he glared at Chu Wuming and shouted, Is what Wuk and Wuxuan said true? Do you really want to rebel? Chu Wuming's words made Chu Mu realize the problem very quickly. At the same time, a terrifying guess appeared in his heart. The Blood Moon Guards had already been eliminated by Chu Wuming, and the 4 great armies of Hulao Pass had already submitted to Chu Wuming. At the start, everyone thought that Chu Wuk and Chu Wuxuan were framing Chu Wuming. However, everyone quickly realized that perhaps it wasn't the case. Perhaps what the two of them said was true. The way they looked at Chu Wuming had completely changed. If everything was true, then the result was self-evident. Facing everyone's gazes and facing Chu Mu's questioning, Chu Wuming didn't answer. Instead, he softly muttered to himself, It should be about time. No one knew what Chu Wuming's words meant. However, just as Chu Wuming's words left his mouth, an Imperial Guard leader covered in blood ran in. He didn't care about etiquette and loudly shouted in fear, Your Majesty, it's bad, it's bad. The mountain guarding army of Hulao Pass has rebelled. Hearing those words, Chu Mu, who was sitting on the throne, only felt an explosion. It was as if a clap of thunder had exploded in his brain. His entire person was instantly stunned. It's really rebelling. He stared blankly at Chu Wuming below. Chu Mu didn't expect that Chu Wuming would actually dare to rebel. Not only Chu Mu, but Chu Wuk and Chu Wuxuan were also in disbelief. The two of them originally wanted to frame Chu Wuming, but who knew that they were right? Chu Wuming had really rebelled. Everyone in Wuha Palace stared at Chu Wuming in disbelief. After a long while, Chu Mu angrily shouted, Unfilial son, you actually dare to rebel. You, Chu Mu angrily shouted. Perhaps it was due to his anger, but before he could finish his sentence, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Upon seeing this, many of the advanced mastery stage experts anxiously shouted, Your Majesty, the development of the situation exceeded everyone's expectations. Chu Mu held his chest with one hand and casually waved his other hand to indicate that he was fine. Then, he took a deep breath and looked at the Imperial Guard leader. What's the situation at the border? Facing Chu Mu's question, the Imperial Guard leader replied with a solemn expression. 2 hours ago, the Mountain Suppression Army suddenly entered the Imperial capital through the teleportation formation. Then, they took over the main roads and city gates in a flash. Right now, the entire Imperial capital is under the Mountain Suppression Army's control. Only the Imperial Palace is still defending. However, because we weren't prepared, we were caught off guard by the Mountain Suppression Army. Now, the Imperial Palace is about to fall. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Only 2 hours had passed since the Mountain Subduing Army arrived at the Imperial capital. In these 2 hours, the defenseless Imperial capital was taken down by the Mountain Subduing Army almost instantly. It couldn't be helped. The Mountain Guard Army had been prepared since the beginning, and they were planning against the enemy. Coupled with the fact that there were over 100 generals of the 4 armies, for Tao Emperor Realm experts, and the assistance of the experts of heavenly stellar residents amongst the 500,000-strong Mountain Guard army. So, the garrison of the imperial capital was utterly unable to resist them. Right now, the entire imperial capital was under the Mountain Suppression Army's control. Only the imperial guards in the imperial palace were still resisting with all their might. However, it was clear that they wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Hearing the commander's words, Chu Mu's face turned ashen. As the emperor, he naturally wasn't stupid. He already knew that there was no turning back. He looked at Chu Wuming as if he wanted to see through him. Chu Mu didn't expect that the third prince, who was looked down upon, would be able to do all this. Compared to Chu Mu's calmness, Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang were completely panicking. They knew that once Chu Wuming succeeded in seizing power, the first to die would be them. Just like how they wanted to kill Chu Wuming wouldn't let them live either. Chapter 502. Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang looked at Chu Wuming in horror. Who would have thought that Chu Wuming would really rebel? Faced with the gazes of the two brothers, Chu Wuming only indifferently glanced at them. Soon after, his gaze landed on Chu Mu as he calmly spoke. "Father, I have no choice but to do this. Furthermore, I feel that I am the most suitable candidate for the position of crown prince. Eldest brother is ruthless while second brother is irritable and tyrannical. If the two of them take the position of crown prince, it will only harm the empire." Now that things had developed to this point, there was no longer a need to hide anything anymore. Therefore, Chu Wuming also revealed the last layer of the window paper. His meaning was already very clear. The position of the crown prince could only be taken by him, Chu Wuming. Hearing this, Chu Mu revealed a bitter smile. "Do you still have me, your father, in your heart?" "Of course. I'm a son of father. Blood is thicker than water. Naturally, I have father in my heart," Chu Wuming replied calmly. "Haha, good. What a good blood is thicker than water. Tell me, are the Blood Moon Guards still around?" Chu Mu asked with a clear laugh. Although he had already guessed what happened to the Blood Moon Guards, Chu Mu still wanted Chu Wuming to tell him personally. Perhaps Chu Wuming did not kill them and only lock them up? He still had a last strand of hope for the Blood Moon Guards. However, this last strand of hope was instantly shattered along with Chu Wuming's reply. "Father, the Blood Moon Guards betrayed the Empire and were all killed by me. Due to the urgency of the situation, I did not have the time to ask for instructions from Father. I hope Father can punish me." It's over. The Blood Moon Guards were completely annihilated. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Mu's face turned even paler. He smiled weakly. "Good. Betraying the Empire. Good job, my son." Now that the mountain-suppressing army had surrounded the imperial capital and the Blood Moon Guards were all annihilated, Chu Mu could be said to have no power left to stop Chu Wuming. Following Chu Mu's words, Shao Chun, the four elders of the Celestial Equal sect, Zhao Feng, and the other generals of the four armies, as well as thousands of soldiers from the mountain-suppressing army, charged into the martial palace. Without saying anything, these soldiers immediately took control of all the officials and generals present. Facing these soldiers from the mountain-suppressing army, although the cultivation of the officials and generals was higher, no one resisted. This was not strange. Now that the situation was over, resistance was futile. At the same time, Zhao Feng and the others personally sealed the cultivation of Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. Facing Zhao Feng and the others, the four generals of the Crown Prince's palace. "Do you know what you're doing? I'm the second prince. If you dare to treat me like this, I'll definitely exterminate your entire family in the future." Compared to Chu Wuming's anger, Chu Wuk was strangely calm. He allowed Zhao Feng and the others to seal his cultivation. He knew very well that he no longer had a future. Now that Chu Wuming was about to take control, the two of them did not have much time left. After successfully taking control of the martial palace, Zhao Feng and the other generals immediately knelt down in front of Chu Wuming and shouted, "Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince." Chu Mu had yet to give a decree, but the generals were already calling Chu Wuming the Crown Prince. Chu Wuming did not reject this and said calmly, "Generals, rise. Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince." Since the martial palace was controlled, so was the entire imperial palace. It was at this moment that Chu Qingshan, Chu Mu Bai, the Burning Sky ruler, and the other two emperors of the Moonless Empire appeared. His gaze swept over everyone present. Then, Chu Qingshan's gaze landed on Tian Guochuan and the other three elders of the Celestial Equal Sect. He said with a bitter smile, "Elder Tian, I didn't think that the Celestial Equal Sect would interfere. We haven't seen each other in 50 years, right?" 58 years, Tian Guochuan nodded and replied. "Yeah, it's been 58 years. Time really flies." Hearing Tian Guochuan's reply, Chu Qingshan sighed and then looked at Chu Wuming. "Nameless, can you follow me to the back garden for a walk? You and I haven't spoken in a long time." Chu Qingshan invited Chu Wuming. Hearing this, Chu Wuming nodded and didn't refuse. Xiao Chan didn't stop this because Chu Qingshan wouldn't harm Chu Wuming. Today's matter was an internal affair of the imperial palace. Chu Wuming could be said to be Chu Qingshan's descendant. Therefore, to Chu Qingshan, since Chu Wuming had gained power, he wouldn't stop him. As long as the throne was still in the hands of the Chu family, Chu Qingshan and Chu Mu Bai, the two emperors, could accept it. Chu Qingshan and Chu Wuming slowly walked out of the martial palace. As for Chu Mu Bai, he stayed behind. His goal was clear, to protect Chu Mu. Walking in the imperial palace, Chu Qingshan calmly said, "Nameless, how do you plan on treating Wuk and Wu Shuang, your two brothers?" He didn't oppose Chu Wuming being in power, because Chu Wuming was also a member of the Chu family. Moreover, no matter who was in power, it didn't affect Chu Qingshan and Chu Mu Bai, the two retired emperors. This was because they were already outside of imperial authority. Therefore, in Chu Qingshan's opinion, what he cared about the most right now was how Chu Wuming planned to deal with Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. "Ancestor wants me to let them go?" Hearing Chu Qingshan's words, Chu Wuming didn't answer and instead asked a question. Towards this, Chu Qingshan didn't do anything. He nodded honestly and said, "After all, the three of you are blood brothers. If possible, let them go." They were all members of the Chu family and were all his descendants. Therefore, he didn't want Chu Wuming and his brothers to kill each other. Hearing Chu Qingshan's words, Chu Wuming was silent for a moment before speaking. "Ancestor, do you think that if I let the two of them go, they will be deeply grateful to me? No, they will only secretly develop their power and try to take back power from me. Therefore, does Ancestor think that the Moonless Empire can still be stable? Ancestor, I am a member of the Chu family and a descendant of the imperial family. My wish is for the Moonless Empire to become strong until one day the Moonless Empire can dominate Danyang County. Therefore, no matter if it's for public or private reasons, I cannot let the two of them live. Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang must die. Then what about your father? Will he be killed as well?" Chu Qingshan continued to ask. "I won't kill my father. Instead, I will let my father enjoy his remaining years." Chu Wuming replied. He wouldn't kill Chu Mu, but the power in Chu Mu's hands must be handed over. After that, Chu Wuming would let Chu Mu enjoy his remaining years in the imperial palace and peacefully live out the rest of his life. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Qingshan lightly sighed and indifferently said, "Fine, we'll do as you say. However, I have a condition. Your father's throne can't be touched by you for 50 years. However, you can control the power and govern the empire as the crown prince. After 50 years, I will have your father give up the throne to you." Chapter 503. In the end, Chu Qingshan chose to compromise. However, he raised a condition. Within 50 years, Chu Wuming couldn't touch Chu Mu's throne. He could seize power and manage the empire as the crown prince, but he couldn't remove Chu Mu's position. Faced with Chu Qingshan's condition, Chu Wuming pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. Chu Wuming's condition didn't mean much to him. As long as he could control power, it didn't matter if he ascended to the capital or not. Seeing Chu Wuming nod, Chu Qingshan didn't say anything else. Today's events happened too suddenly. Chu Qingshan couldn't stop anything. Moreover, if Chu Qingshan insisted on stopping it, the Moonless Empire would probably fall into chaos. An hour later, Chu Wuming and Chu Qingshan returned to Wuha Palace. Chu Qingshan personally gave the order to confer Chu Wuming as the Moonless Empire's crown prince. Following Chu Qingshan's words, the faces of all the nobles in Wuha Palace changed. They all knew that from today onwards, the Moonless Empire's sky would probably change. Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang were completely finished. At the same time, Chu Mu would probably only be an emperor in name. After all, from Chu Wuming's actions today, he definitely wouldn't return all of his power to Chu Mu. Moreover, it wouldn't be long before the Moonless Empire would be swept up in a bloody storm, especially those families and nobles that relied on Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. Their fates probably wouldn't be any better. After announcing Chu Wuming as the crown prince, Chu Qingshan looked at Tian Guichuan and the other 4 Tianqi sect elders and said, "Elder Tian, do you want to come to my place for a drink?" "Haha, Brother Chu's invitation is only natural. Let's go." Hearing this, Tian Guichuan laughed. Immediately after, Chu Qingshan, Chu Mu Bai, Tian Guichuan, and the others left. Chu Mu also left Wuha Palace under the accompaniment of several people from the temple, returning to the harem. The following matters would naturally be decided by Chu Wuming. If Chu Mu continued to stay here, he would only be asking for trouble. Everyone left one after another. At the same time, Xiaochen also bid farewell to Chu Wuming and left the Wuha Palace. Now that the imperial capital had basically stabilized, Xiaochen wasn't too interested in the upcoming purge of the imperial court. Moreover, this was originally Chu Wuming's matter. Now, Xiaochen still had to bring Bai Ruyue back to the imperial capital to settle down. Chu Wuming's gaze swept over everyone present. Then, names were called out one by one. These names were all Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang's people. Towards these people, Chu Wuming naturally wouldn't have the slightest bit of mercy. He directly ordered them to be locked up in the celestial prison. Everything happened so unexpectedly. Nearly half of the imperial court officials were locked up. As for the others, Chu Wuming allowed them to return, but they weren't allowed to leave the imperial capital. After resolving the problem of the imperial court officials, the next step was Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang. Chu Wuming naturally had to take care of the two of them. He ordered them to be locked up separately, with the mountain-subduing army personally guarding them. In the next few days, as expected, the entire imperial capital, and even the entire Moonless Empire, was swept up in a storm of blood. In just a short 7 days, the forces of Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang were uprooted. Those who were loyal to the two of them, without exception, were all killed. For a time, the Moonless Empire could be said to have undergone a drastic change. In this matter, Chu Wuming displayed his decisive side. He eliminated all potential dangers. At the same time, the authority of the entire Moonless Empire was firmly controlled by Chu Wuming. Although it wasn't stable yet, it couldn't cause any big waves. For 7 consecutive days, Chu Wuming could be said to have been extremely busy. As for Xiao Chun, he stayed in the heavenly stellar residence. He cultivated while accompanying his mother, Bai Ruyue. He didn't care about the matters of the outside world at all. After stabilizing the situation in the Moonless Empire, Chu Wuming promoted a group of people who were finally loyal to him. Especially those important positions, Chu Wuming changed them all to his own trusted subordinates. After doing all this, Chu Wuming finally arrived at Chu Wuk and Chu Wushuang's prison in the middle of the night. The two of them were locked up alone. Moreover, they weren't in the celestial prison. Instead, they were in the backyard of the imperial palace. A small courtyard was specially set aside for the two of them to live in. However, the surroundings of the courtyard were filled with soldiers of the mountain-suppressing army. Striding into the courtyard, the 3 brothers met again. However, Chu Wuming was wearing a purplish gold dragon robe, while Chu Wushuang and Chu Wuk were wearing prison clothes. At the same time, their cultivations were sealed and they appeared extremely haggard. Sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard, Chu Wuming looked at the two of them and said indifferently, "This might be the last time we meet." What did you say? Chu Wuming, you want to kill us? Father won't let you off if you do this. Chu Wuming's voice was very calm, but the meaning was very clear. Hearing this, Chu Wushuang immediately shouted angrily. As he cursed, he wanted to charge forward. However, just as Chu Wushuang moved, Zhao Feng, who was behind Chu Wuming, kicked Chu Wushuang far away. Compared to Chu Wushuang's rage, Chu Wuming was very calm. He looked at the stone bench beside Chu Wuming and said calmly, "Can I sit? Big brother, please." Sitting down, Chu Wuk looked at Chu Wuming, who was wearing a dragon robe, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Then, he said slowly, "I never took you seriously. I've never taken you seriously. But who would have thought that while my second brother and I were fighting to the death, you had already gained control of millions of soldiers? I know your purpose for coming here tonight, and I don't expect you to let me go. After all, if I were you today, I would have done the same. But my second brother's mother..." Xian's eyes widened. His heart was filled with hatred. Chu Wuk said he didn't expect Chu Wuming to let him off, but he hoped that Chu Wuming would let their mother go. They were both Chu Mu's concubines when they were young. Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Wuming took a deep breath. A complicated look flashed through his eyes, and he said, "Since ancient times, the path of emperors' corpses has been the most merciless. Big brother, there are many things that I don't have a choice in." Hearing Chu Wuming's words, Chu Wuk fell silent. He already knew what Chu Wuming meant. It was impossible. Anyone related to Chu Wuming and Chu Wushuang must die. Many people thought that emperors were supreme, but who knew that there were many things that emperors didn't have a choice in? Chu Wuming slowly stood up. He had said enough. He took out 2 pots of poison wine from his storage ring and slowly placed them on the stone table. Then, he took a deep breath and said, "This is the only thing that I can do to let big brother and second brother have some dignity." After speaking, Chu Wuming left with Zhao Feng, leaving behind the 2 pots of fragrant poison wine, the silent Chu Wushuang, and the crying Chu Wuming. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.